Since their inception 4 years ago, the Laval Rouge et Or have been on a meteoric rise, marching relentlessly into the national spotlight. Last year, Laval was one win away from a berth in the national semifinals, but the lights went out on their season in a controversial double overtime loss to Concordia. There has been no brighter light in the CIAU this year than Laval. Their road to the Vanier Cup has gone through the defending champion Saskatchewan Huskies. Today, the red and gold hope to add a little silver to their school colors as they charge toward their first Vanier Cup. St. Mary's has won the Cup before, but not for 26 years. More recently, the Huskies have failed to clear that final hurdle.
And St. Mary's, its third trip in 5 years, comes away empty once more.
Those 3 losses in the late 80s and early 90s have made the Huskies more focused now than ever. This is a program rich in tradition. A tradition fostered by the dedication of former head coach Larry Utek. Today, his successor, Blake Nill, will be the one leading the Huskies into battle, trying to reclaim a trophy that's been missing for more than a quarter century. The 1999 Vanier Cup is next. Sports coverage, TSN is proud to present the 1999 Vanier Cup. This is Saturday's classroom, and you can make as much noise as you want as long as you wear your school uniform. Even those guys, yes. It's Vanier Cup Day here at Skydome in Toronto. 24 schools tried to get here, but only 2 can take that final exam. The Laval Rouge et Or and the St. Mary's Huskies from Halifax. Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Vanier Cup, the 35th, once again here on TSN. I'm Rod Smith. This seemed like an unlikely matchup not long ago. A team from the Atlantic Conference, a team from the OQ. It's only the 3rd time in history that that's happened in the Vanier Cup, and these schools have really had to come a long way. St. Mary's was 1-7 in '97. Blake Nill took over, and look where the program is now. They lost their opener. They've won 9 straight here at the national championship game against a Laval team that only began in 1996 under Jacques Chapdelaine in the last 3 years. Steady improvement in beating a very good Saskatchewan team in the Churchill Bowl last year. To give you an idea how long the drought has been for St. Mary's, 26 years, this guy, Jamie Bone, was still in high school. Boy, it has been a while. For Laval, this program really started turning heads, Jamie, about mid-October, an interconference game against a very good team from the OU.
Well, Laval were going into this game against McMaster, one of the top-ranked teams in the nation, on a 2-game losing streak. But when they went into Marauder Stadium, they actually blew McMaster to pieces, 49-6. That raised a lot of eyes in CIU circles, and people started to take this team seriously, and they haven't lost a game since. And
leading the way of a great offense is their quarterback, Matthew Bertrand, who passed for like 2,500 yards this season. He can do it all, it seems. The lefty throws the ball well. He's tall, he is athletic, and he runs well. Jacques Chapdelaine loves the passing game as an ex-receiver, and he loves the quarterback he has leading the charge.
Matthew's a true leader for us. He is poised. He brings a level of confidence and calmness when everything seems to be a little hectic and chaotic. And he's a tremendous athlete as well. So he brings another dimension maybe that the running quarterback can bring to an offense.
Mathieu Bertrand, Jamie, can cause a headache for any defense, but Blake Nill of St. Mary's has seen this style of offense before.
Well, the AUA has really gone through a transition. They're primarily more a passing league right now, and St. Mary's come into this game as the #1 pass defense in the nation, only allowing 213 yards passing per game. So this is a great matchup. You got a great pass defense against a great passing game.
Well, Blake Nill did a great job with his defense last week, worrying about the run of Waterloo, and now the St. Mary's coach is seeing something he's used to.
Now we're back into our style of football with Laval. They're a pass team, we're a pass defense, and you know, we can bring our whole package, and you know, which involves a lot of pressure and a lot of different coverages, and hopefully it'll work out to the best for us.
St. Mary's defense against Laval's offense is just half the story. Let's welcome in the other parts of our broadcast crew, and look who we brought out of broadcast retirement, none other than Leif Pedersen, who's down on that St. Mary's sideline. Leif.
All right, Rod, thanks very much. It's really fun to be back with you guys this afternoon. Rod, you and Jamie talked about the role that the St. Mary's defense is going to have to play this afternoon, but I think, in fact, their greatest ally may be their own offense. A week ago, against a tough Waterloo defense, running back Dean Jones rushed for 143 yards, and in that game they were able to control the ball effectively, as they have done all season long, and they had a distinct advantage in time of possession. Now, if they can do that again this afternoon, those two things, and keep the ball away from Laval, I think the St. Mary's offense may be, in fact, their best defense. On the Laval sidelines this afternoon is our good friend from the Maritimes, Alex J. Walling.
Leif, if they can keep the ball away. If they can't, Mathieu Bertrand, the quarterback, will have it. He's healthy. He's willing to go. He's got a bunch of enthusiastic fans that have traveled from La Vieille Capitale, La Belle Province, to support his team. And it could be an interesting ball game.
All right, thank you, Alex. Every year we dedicate the Vanier Cup to someone who has made an unforgettable contribution to Canadian university football, and this year that man is Larry Utek. For 15 years, he was the head coach of the St. Mary's program, winning just about everything except for a national title. 2 years ago, he stepped down, and right now Larry is battling a very serious illness, best known as Lou Gehrig's disease. As you might have seen last week, Larry Utek remains the Huskies' biggest inspiration. Larry Utek became the St. Mary's Huskies head coach in 1983 after spending 10 years as a defensive back in the CFL with Toronto, BC, and Montreal. In 4 years, he developed one of Canada's most respected football programs.
Nealon comes wide to the left this time, and it's McDonald, and he looks, and he's got a man in the end zone! Touchdown, St. Mary's! They'll go to the Vanier Cup!
Utek's innovative coaching style and dedication to excellence led the Huskies to 7 Atlantic championships in 8 years, from '87 to '94. His 3 Atlantic Bowl titles during that span set him apart from the rest, and his peers recognized him as being one of the best coaches in the CIAU. He was named Atlantic Coach of the Year 5 times and was awarded the prestigious Frank Tyndall Trophy as CIAU Coach of the Year twice. Utek stepped down from coaching after the 1997 season when he was diagnosed with ALS, a degenerative muscle condition. Last week, the Huskies dedicated their Atlantic Bowl victory to their former head coach. Today, we dedicate Vanier Cup 35 to Larry Utek. The head coach of the Laval Rouge et Or, Jacques Delaine, former CFL wide receivers, and an excellent job with this young program in only their 4th year, in just his 3rd year coaching them. Here they are on the threshold of a national championship with his quarterback you see there, number 19, Mathieu Bertrand.
Offense, be ready. Offense, be ready. Here we go, baby. Get this going.
And his counterpart, Blake Nill, who took over the program from Larry Utek in 1998. A former defensive coordinator with St. Francis Xavier. He's been here to the national stage before as defensive coordinator there when X was in the national final against Saskatchewan in 1996. He's tried to instill some of that experience, Jamie, to his players today.
Yeah, no question. And, you know, he's done a great job of building a dynamite defense with St. Mary's. He did it in 1996 when St. Francis Xavier made it to the Vanier Cup and actually held a very good UBC team, or excuse me, Saskatchewan team, 12-0 at the half when they were ahead going into the 4th quarter.
A very loud crowd here today at Skydome. 17 busloads have made the trek from Savoie, Quebec to cheer on the Rouge et Or, and it is number 81 St. Mary's, Jason Curry, the kicker to get this game underway. A short kick to start off this Vanier Cup, and it's taken at the 35 and up to the 45-yard line for Stéphane Lefebvre, the starting running back, and you see Mathieu Bertrand coming on now to lead the charge of a very potent Laval offense.
And I think when people look at Mathieu Bertrand, they say, you look at the great numbers, he put up 18 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, but what I think impresses people the most is his presence in the pocket. He's very, very poised, does not get rattled, and, you know, he'll tuck the ball down and take it. He's a very effective runner.
They showed great balance against Saskatchewan last week, did most of the scoring in the first half, and then hung on. And Bertrand will throw right away. The six-pack was out, and it's Lefebvre with the ball and a big gain on first down. Another first down across midfield inside the St. Mary's 50.
Stephane Lefebvre has been such a big part of their offense in the last couple of weeks. Here again, they like to use a lot of motion on offense, and they get the back out in the backfield. Bertrand just finds him. Now look, no St. Mary's person out there. St. Mary's are a man team. They like to try and match up man-to-man. But Laval use so much motion, they're trying to create these mismatches where people forget assignments and they get open people.
So passing right away and moving that ball is Laval. First down. Husky territory. The first drive of the game in this national championship. This time, handing off. It's Lefebvre again. The MVP of the Churchill Bowl last week with 2 touchdowns shows his versatility.
Laval backs receivers led by quarterback Mathieu Bertrand. Mathieu Bertrand is the big running back, and the big receiver for them is Sébastien Robillard.
And what a great offensive line. Because you got 3 All-Stars there and a 2-time All-Canadian in Trudel, Andre Trudel at right tackle. Giving him lots of time to throw and opening some big holes like they did there for Lefebvre, who gained 7 yards at his 2nd and 3. Rougeau looking to hand off to Lefebvre again. Boy, he's had a busy start to this Vanier, and he has another Laval first down inside the St. Mary's 40. Up front defensively for the Huskies. Great linebackers. Josh Tavares, the All-Canadian there, and Big Doug Borden, over 300 pounds up front.
And part of the best pass defense in the CIU, led by Curtis Nash, who had that great game last week against the Waterloo Warriors.
Nash had a couple of interceptions, one that snuffed out a touchdown drive for Waterloo in the first half that might have been the turning point of that game. There's Borden down in the trenches for St. Mary's. That Husky defense on its heels right now. Laval moving it, throwing it, completing it. Another first down and more. Sébastien Robillard with the catch, takes it down. Another big gain, Laval. What a great drive to start this Vanier Cup.
I tell you, Laval are a well-oiled machine here. This is a very well-executed play. They take both the right guard and tackle. And the snap of the ball, they're going to slide him out. And you see Andre Trudel goes out there as well. Then they run the little slip screen inside to Robillard.
Sébastien Robillard. In his 3rd year, phys ed student from Sherbrooke, the hometown of Jacques Chapdelaine. It's Rougeau on the move. The pass again. Bonaventura just gets him. Excuse me. That was Mathieu Demers, the rush end, who got in and just got to Bertrand. Bertrand got the ball away, but it's incomplete.
Well, this is what St. Mary's like to do, and you know, they haven't done it so far this game until now, trying to bring some pressure. This time they bring it from the corner with Mathieu Demers, the great rush end for St. Mary's, and he really hits Bertrand, drives him down onto that hard turf. And you have to remember, too, Rod, that St. Mary's are a turf team. This is a team that plays in Husky Stadium, which is AstroTurf. And Laval, coming into this game, has only played 1 game this season. That was in McGill.
So it's 2nd down and 10 for Laval as they send 3 out to the left again. And completing over the middle to Pascal Robitaille, who has another Laval first down. Gets it down to about the St. Mary's 7. It'll be 1st and goal, Rougeau.
Pascal Robitaille is a wide receiver lined up. He's had 46 catches this year. They just clear everybody out, and then he falls in underneath. Does a good job of getting the first down. Takes a big hit here, and he's actually down on 1 knee right now. You can see the host of St. Mary's Huskies coming in, giving him a pretty good lick. Now, he would be a devastating loss if he cannot come back in this game, but he seems to be okay. He's just down on 1 knee.
Bertrand's completed 4 of 5 passes so far along the way, and the drive that has taken them close to that Husky end zone.
And the interesting thing about Laval and their pass, you know, this is not a team that really has huge numbers going down the field. They are a real ball control style offense. They'll hit you with a big one every now and then, but this is a real controlled passing offense.
And so Robitaille comes off after the reception, being injured, but looks to be okay. Mathieu Bertrand, the 6'3" lefty. And one thing we haven't seen yet, his ability to run the ball. He showed that to Saskatchewan. We have 4 to the left. The handoff to Lefebvre. Touchdown, Laval. What a start.
Laval do such a great job of spreading it thin. By that, they get all the receivers out, and they only leave 5 people inside. Creates huge seams, and they like to run draw. with Stéphane Lefebvre. Everybody else only went back in the backfield. You just see there's nobody inside of the box right there. They only have 5 people inside the tackles.
A balanced offense. They love to throw it, but as you can see, they can run it as well. It's Michel Vanier for the extra point. Had one blocked last week in the Churchill Bowl, but this one is through. And after one drive, Laval finds the end zone, leading St. Mary's 7-0.
Stéphane Lefebvre just scored the touchdown for the Laval Rouge et Or. Let's take a look at the replay here. They're going to take their all-Canadian tackle. They're going to bring him on here, and then they're going to run trap draw with Lefebvre and drive him right up in there. Really good block by the all-Canadian. Bang, kicks him out there, and now there's just daylight into the end zone. Lefebvre does the right thing and gets 6 points for Laval.
The Ontario-Quebec Rookie of the Year. As Michel Gagné gets ready to kick off, but Lefebvre had only 1 touchdown in the regular season, but 3 in the last 2 games, 2 in the Churchill Bowl last week, and was named the MVP.
And you and I did the Atlantic Bowl last week, and this is almost a carbon copy of that, where Waterloo went right down and scored in St. Mary's in the opening drive.
The key for the Huskies, they were able to make defensive adjustments as the game went on. We'll have to see what they can do this time. That Laval looks great. And it's Chris Fates on the kick return, getting it up to the 20. Let's go down to the sideline, and Alex J. Walling. Alex?
I've got Stéphane Lefebvre. Est-ce que vous pensez de bouger le ballon si rapide? Do you think of moving it so quickly?
Yeah, the plan of game was to move the ball first, and all the play we make is what's good. I think that there was not attending for that, so we earned the ball.
Merci. Thank you very much, Stéphane.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you, Alex. Ryan Jones on now, the quarterback for St. Mary's. Very efficient. 13 touchdown passes, only 4 interceptions. Another good one last week running that offense in the Atlantic Bowl, and he will pass right away. Lots of time, and he tries to take off, and he is dropped for a loss. Taken down about 3 yards back by Ian Glazy in their number 43, Laval.
Well, it's interesting what Laval have come out on defense. They're primarily a 40-look team, but now they're trying to play almost a 30-look where they're covering the center. Laval do have an injured player down on the field.
And the scoring drive, 7 plays, 64 yards. And it was a touchdown by Lefebvre, the 7-yard run. But boy, Bertrand passed the ball so well along that drive, Jamie.
I mean, that was just a textbook drive. If you're trying to put together a clinic film on how to execute the offense, you can just take that whole drive and put it together.
An injured player for the Laval Rouge et Or, Hugues Beauchamp, their rush end from Montreal. And limping off, very gingerly favoring his left foot.
The running backs, receivers for St. Mary's led by quarterback Ryan Jones. Dean Jones is Mr. Outside. Luis Perez is Mr. Inside.
And some size up front. Charlie Todd, number 54, the center, weighs 340 pounds. And Brad Chalmers, their left tackle, he played in the Vanier Cup in 1990. He's 29 years of age. And there's Charlie getting up over the ball. You're not moving him very easily. 4 conference All-Stars on that offensive line for St. Mary's. And they need to get the ball moving here early in this game and shift the momentum back a bit. Under pressure, Jones gets it away. What a nice catch for a first down, Huskies. Travis Tyler, who had a touchdown last week in the Atlantic Bowl. Big first down, St. Mary's across the 35.
That's just a beautiful catch. Again, looks like Ryan Jones is looking to his left, and he comes back to the short side of the field. That is a beautiful catch. Nice call by the official to make sure that he was in bounds. Good job of looking it off and then coming back. That's a big-time catch.
Travis Tyler balls up at the St. Mary's 37 now, and the running game gets going. It's Dean Jones, short yardage up the middle, the MVP of the Atlantic Bowl, at over 160 yards rushing, including a 65-yarder. The front seven, I should say, they'll substitute a lot in, but Ben Melush, the linebacker, had the big game defensively for Laval last week.
And this is a great secondary, Rod, as well, led by Daniel Fleury on the corner.
Another look at that catch, Jamie.
And Travis Tyler does a nice job. Actually, a good pass here, but goes way up and gets at the highest point, comes down to make sure the ball is in bounds before he lands out of bounds.
Second down, 6 to go from the 41 St. Mary's, trailing by 7. Quick pass inside, complete. Huskies are answering back with a drive here. They get it up across their 50. Another first down, St. Mary's. And it's Tyler on the receiving end again.
Just a three-step drop, and they're bringing it inside. But good job of making sure he gets it in his hands, away from his body. What kind of afternoon it's going to be for Ryan Jones. It's a big hit.
And that was Dave Stalla, the rookie wideout, who caught that pass coming inside for St. Mary's. Huskies started this drive deep in their own zone. They're across the 50. Ryan Jones, play action fake. Deep over the middle, he's got a man. Paul Fleming dropped it. No good. He had it, he couldn't hang on, and it would have been first down at the Laval 20 had he hung on to the ball.
That was a big play that Blake Nill needed. Ryan Jones in the backfield, good protection. It was a great block thrown. And Fleming gets in behind. You got to come up with those catches. Take a look at this block in the middle. And the linebacker comes here. He just gets up in and bang right there. That's just a great block in the middle of your screen.
And Paul Fleming had Philippe Lamar, number 24, in the corner, beaten. He wouldn't have gone in. He was turned around, but still would have put St. Mary's in great position out of the shotgun. On second down, Jones. Oh, just beyond the outstretched arms there of the veteran, the fifth-year guy, Adam Gillen, excuse me. Falls incomplete, and so a good drive falls short now by SMU. They'll be punting.
Now, although, you know, they have to punt here, Rod, this was still a pretty good drive by the Huskies. I mean, they were deep in their own end. Right after Laval had scored on them, you know, the last thing they wanted to do was go 2-and-out, so they started to establish some things on offense.
And they did that. And now, of course, you have to see how that defense will do for the Huskies.
And one of the most dangerous men in the CIU is back to return this punt, and that is Daniel Fleury, averaging close to 15 yards per return. I don't think you're going to see Jason Curry kick it his way.
And you're right, Curry kicks it the other way. And it goes for Robillard, who had a 51-yard return last week in the Churchill Bowl. No yards will be the call as he takes it inside the 25, gets it up to around the 24. Bertrand coming back on Laval football with a 7-0 lead in the Vanier Cup.
I take a lot of pride in being able to compete athletically, but still maintain a really high standard in school as well.
Royal Bank Financial Group congratulates Curtis Myden, a 4-time academic All-Canadian, double bronze medalist at the 1996 Olympics, and CIAU Male Swimmer of the Year.
It's great to get recognized for what you've done in the classroom as well as what I've done in the pool.
The two head coaches in today's game are hardly strangers. In fact, their paths crossed a couple of times. Jacques Chapdelaine and Blake Nill were teammates in Montreal, and they were guest coaches with Calgary. Passing right away for Lefebvre, who has the one touchdown in this game, and it goes over him, incomplete. Second down, Laval. Jacques Chapdelaine had a good CFL career. Went to Simon Fraser. They were teammates in Montreal. You saw those old photos. Blake Nill, a big offensive lineman, still a very big man.
And interesting, both of those guys were assistant coaches in the CIU. Blake Nill, of course, with St. Francis Xavier, and Jacques Chapdelaine with the Bishop's Gators, who was the offensive coordinator there before coming to Laval.
And I asked Blake Nill how well he knew Jacques in association with Calgary and that style of offense that we're seeing so far today. And he said he knows all about it. I mean, he knows George Cortez as well and what they like to do in Calgary.
You know, you can see, Rob, we're looking back in that last play. St. Mary's now are starting to try and come with a little bit more pressure here. You can see he gets hit a little bit late after that. Just a little bump. He's a big guy. He can take it.
Quarterbacks are tough, right?
Hands up, please.
Do you speak for the fraternity?
No.
Somehow your attitude was probably a little different when you were down there,
Absolutely.
right? On the receiving end. Where's the flag, right?
Always talking to the official.
Well, not only is he a quarterback, he is a punter, too. And a pretty good one. Mathieu Bertrand standing at his 19th. First time punting today. And so St. Mary's defense does answer the second time around. Low snap, but no pressure to speak of. And this punt will be taken at the St. Mary's 40. It's Adam Gillen with the ball, trying to get outside, does for a moment, but finally he is hauled down at the 45. Good field position for the Huskies to work for their second drive. We'll be back. The Vanier Cup on TSN. Welcome back to Skydome and Vanier Cup. St. Mary's football. They handed off Luis Perez, who was fumbled, but they did get it back, and so they had a pretty good gain on that first down of about 8 yards. It'll be second and short.
And actually, when Ryan Jones handed the ball off, I think he thought it was fumbled because I don't think he thought he was supposed to be carrying the ball. I thought he was supposed to be the second back through, but nonetheless, they'll take it. They get a pretty good gain on it.
So on second down near midfield, Huskies call it second and 3. A fumbled ball again, and this time they don't get it back. First turnover of the game, and it goes Laval's way right at midfield.
You know, Rod, you think of St. Mary's coming into this game. That's one of the things that they haven't done all season is beat themselves. They only had 2 fumbles and 356 carries coming into this game, and now they have the first one early on in this football game. They're trying to run option, or they'll look like option, but you know, when you're running that play, the quarterback's got to get his eye to the navel. He's got to make sure he looks in there and actually has a mesh, flow, and then exchange. Here you just have an exchange. You don't have the mesh nor the flow. Consequently, the ball's on the carpet.
It was on the carpet and recovered by Francisco Pepe Esposito. And on first down, that Huskies defense is stiffening up the ball carrier, Lefebvre. Pepe Esposito, born in Italy, and then moved to Paris, and ultimately to Canada to play some football. One of the flamboyant characters of this Laval team. And a big play early in this game at midfield, Laval football on second and long now. Bertrand brings them out of the huddle. To pass. Looking over to his right. Good coverage there. Philippe Roberge on the coverage in the corner, and it's incomplete.
You know, one thing that you see every time now that Bertrand's throwing the ball, he's being hit. I mean, St. Mary's is starting to heat it up. You know, we talked last week about this defense and that their identity really is attitude and pressure. As you can see that big lick there, it lowers the shoulder into him and knocks him down. And, you know, these are the kind of things that take its toll throughout a football game. In the first quarter, it's okay. Still a pretty good pass, but great coverage there in the secondary as well. By St. Mary's, it's Philippe Roberge.
Bertrand, 3 of the first 4, none of the next 3 in terms of passing, and will be punting again. Standing 40, once again, close snap that bounces off the carpet, and this is not a good punt at all. It heads out of bounds just inside the St. Mary's 45. So despite the Husky fumble, they're not really penalized that much for it. They'll have it again when we come back. The Vanier Cup on TSN. Back at Skydome, you're looking at the Husky contingent and more reasons to cheer. After that first Laval drive went for a touchdown, things have really settled down. They're just awaiting that St. Mary's offense to get things going. And a fumble the last time out, but a poor punt by Mathieu Bertrand has left them in good field position at their 44. On first down, quick hit to Luis Perez. And good yardage for a first down at midfield St. Mary's. Luis Perez, aunts, uncles, and cousins watching this game on TSN via satellite in Venezuela. He was born there and came to Canada over a decade ago.
Well, again, they're just trying to come in here real quick, give that option look. That's a play that they fumbled on last time, but they ran it a little bit tighter into that A-gap between guard and center. And Luis Perez, we said earlier, he's kind of Mr. Inside. They like to have Dean Jones take it to the perimeter.
Perez injured his ankle 3 weeks ago, had to miss the last couple of games. Played last week, however, and more productive this time around on first down, and not much doing, just across midfield, a gain of a couple of yards for the Huskies as Blake Nell looks on. Defense, his specialty, and trust the offense with his coordinator Steve Sumara, who was with him at St. FX.
And you mentioned Steve Sumara. He's the offensive coordinator. He's up in the booth today, but I had a good talk with him throughout the week, and he was saying that, you know, last year they were not as balanced. They threw the ball too much. He said, I like to throw the ball, but for us to win and take it to the next step, we had to establish a running game. And St. Mary's worked real hard on it this year.
2 backs with more than 600 yards in the season. Perez, who you just saw, and Dean Jones, the MVP of last week's Atlantic Bowl. Out of the shotgun on second down and long. Jones completes the pass. It'll be shy of a first down. They get it to about the 50. So a punting situation.
And, you know, Ryan Jones could have taken just a little bit more time. He had Dean Jones. He kind of done a little swing, and there was nobody from Laval took him. You see the left of your screen here in the top. Maybe you'll see him come out into your picture. Actually, you can't see him, but there's actually nobody over there. Decides to go to Adam Gillam.
Gillen from Charlottetown in his 5th year. He has seen a complete transformation of this program, as is this man, Jay Curry, the receiver and the kicker, and punting here in the first quarter.
And his brother just played in a championship game, and his team won just prior to this one in the Metro Bowl game at Madison High School.
Good punt by Curry. And it goes to Fleury inside his 10. Daniel Fleury still on his feet and gets up across the 20. Bertrand and the Rouge et Or coming back on at 7-0.
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can love.
Laval with the football and running it. Mathieu Brassard, the ball carrier, on first down. For Chapdelaines Rouge et Or. A pickup of about 3 yards.
Mathieu Brassard comes into this game as a leading ball carrier. 5.6-yard average, 11 touchdowns rushing, and also quite an adept pass receiver as well. 20 receptions, 5 touchdown receptions.
Having trouble whistling the play in.
I think there's an injured St. Mary's Husky. He's kneeling. See Blake Neal kind of grimacing there on the sidelines. This is a guy he cannot afford to lose. Joe Bonaventura made the tackle on the last play. Just from down the road here. Grew up in Hamilton, Ontario.
The core of linebackers for St. Mary's, all from around this area. Bonaventura and Joe Barbati from Hamilton, and the middle linebacker Josh Tavares, the All-Canadian from nearby Pickering.
A homecoming of sorts for some of these players.
For quite a few ball players.
Yep.
Here with the Huskies. He slowly walks off, and they'll try to get this one going again. But last 6 games, look what Laval has done and look what the opponents have done. That'll tell you a story or two on why this team is here in the national championship game. Passing and 2nd and long. Under pressure, they have got him. In the sack. Down he goes. Their first one of Mathieu Bertrand today. And Laval will have to punt the football again.
You know, this is just a case of Mathieu Bertrand just taking too much time. You know, he's got time here in the pocket. Looks pretty secure right now. But the surprising thing is it's Pascal Charon who gets beaten, and he's their all-Canadian guard. That's number 66.
He's beaten by a pretty big boy as well, though. Doug Borden goes over 310. The Washington Redskins have had interest in him.
They say he runs a 4.940, and he's 310 pounds.
Come on, Huskies!
He's one of the strongest guys in this Huskies team.
They had wanted him to go to a U.S. college. Of course, Blake Neal's not all that interested. Another low snap, the 3rd one today. Bertrand gets the punt away, and it'll be shy of midfield. And bouncing back Laval's way. And rushing in to recover it was Mathieu Bertrand. Flags are down, but of course he was eligible. But it will be Husky football.
Doug Borden out of Dartmouth. Nova Scotia just across the bridge from Halifax. You see Mathieu Bertrand, good heads-up play coming in here to try and get the football. He just misses it and actually bounces right up into St. Mary's.
First down.
Returner.
Eric Hakeem, number 31, taking it there. Been a busy half for Bertrand, but not nearly as good now as it was at the start.
It's interesting, you know, St. Mary's is really kind of winning this war of attrition here right now in terms of field position.
Each time the Huskies have taken over the ball, it's moved further down the field. Now they start just inside the Laval 40, their best field position of the day. With under 3 minutes to go until quarter time here in the Vanier Cup. faking the handoff. The play action fake. It's completed. No, it's dropped. Patrick Thibault, the intended receiver. It'll be 2nd and 10.
I'm sure Patrick Thibault exchanging a few words with the Laval players. Of course, he's from Victoriaville, Quebec, one of the contingent of Quebec players on the St. Mary's Huskies as well.
A flag down. And it will go against Laval. Discussion going on right now with John Sam as the captain of the St. Mary's Huskies.
Offside, number 13. First down repeated.
Hugues Beauchamp, the rush end, back in this game after being injured, was called on the offside. So it'll be 1st and 5 for the Huskies, just inside the Laval 35. St. Mary's trailing 7-0. But the defense has stiffened since, and the offense is starting to move the football. Dean Jones slices down to the 30. He'll be just inches shy of another first down, 2nd and very short.
I think St. Mary's are very content right now to try to establish a running game. They're trying to just run lead off tackle, lead with Louis Perez, get him onto a linebacker, and then have Dean Jones follow him from behind. We saw Dean Jones last week, how quick he is, and one of the impressive things about St. Mary's, Rod, we talked about this last week, was their ability for the receivers to block downfield. See Louis Perez and Dean Jones, double trouble, the St. Mary's Huskies.
And those numbers incorporate the playoff games as well. That is an awful lot of production from 2 backs. Normally you see only one carrying the load. Part of the balance. Perez usually used more inside and Jones on the outside. And Jones and Albertan, one of 9 to make this St. Mary's roster. And enjoying being in this championship game. Injured player down in the field. We'll take another break. 7-0 Laval, the Vanier Cup on TSN. 2nd and short. St. Mary's just takes it across the 30. A keeper by Ryan Jones, and he has the first down. So this is the closest the Huskies have come this game to getting into scoring range. They're just about there now.
Well, Blake Neal wants to keep that ball away from that high-powered Rouge-Or offense. Intent to drive it down. I thought 2nd down and real short like that, they might run some kind of play-action pass and try and hit the ball deep. But they bring out the sticks for the measurement, as it wasn't that definitive whether he had it or not.
Although the ball is clearly across the line, and judging by the marking here, it looks like that should easily be a first down. They're bringing up the sticks anyway, but just barely. Wow. So not so easily. It wouldn't be the first time my eyes have deceived me here, but they do move it along. In terms of tempo, the Huskies have taken control of this game, even though they trail. It was a quick burst, an impressive first drive by Laval. Nothing since. Ryan Jones under center. He's got 3 to his right and a full backfield, and he hands off. And it's Louis Perez on a very short gain on first down, maybe a yard. Curry, their kicker, has a range of about 35 yards, so they're just about there now, especially at the perfect kicking conditions you'd get at Skydome.
Well, I think this has to be a kicker's dream to come in here at this time of the year. You don't have to worry about the wind, the rain.
And Curry and Tony Reha of Waterloo had to worry about the wind certainly last week at the Atlantic Bowl. More of a crosswind, but it made it very difficult in the kicking game in Halifax last week. Once again, 4 to the right this time out of the shotgun, just 1 off to the left. The completion and a first down. Hey, Curry doesn't have to worry about kicking it yet. He's catching that ball, and they're moving the sticks again.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he's 6'4" tall, and he used every inch right here to catch this one. Nice job, kind of a dash look by St. Mary's, get him outside, and it was a real nice job of going up for it and snagging the football and giving St. Mary's a first down on the Laval 19. Big-time catch.
And a nice mix of passing and running the football for this St. Mary's offense. Still with the ball. The drive started outside the Laval 40. They've taken their sweet time getting down here. Killing the clock down to quarter time. Very close to it. The handoff there to Dean Jones, and 0's on the clock now. But St. Mary's knocking on the door. Down close to the 15. Spotted at the 16-yard line.
See Ryan Jones looking at the wristband with all the plays on it. time left on the clock here, and I thought that happened before they whistled in this play, but I guess they figured that there's one more play to be played in the first quarter.
This will be the last play of quarter number 1. Fans starting to make some noise here at Skydome. Jones passing, complete. They mark it down on the 1.
That's a bad spot right there. That's a touchdown.
He reached across before he went down.
Yeah, that's a touchdown because, you know, that's right. It's where the ball is when your knees touch the ground.
Paul Fleming.
It's not where your knee is, it's where the ball is.
Paul Fleming was the one who dropped it down at the 20 earlier. And that's a big catch to get them very close.
Boy.
Now, once again,
I want to see this again. Well,
finally, the gun does sound for quarter time.
Now, the key thing here is where the ball is when the knees touch the ground. I mean, this is an excellent throw here. Now, take a look. He goes up and catches it in the midsection, comes down. You know, see, that ball is across. Now, he reached into the end zone by a good yard, but it just has to touch the line.
Not a touchdown there, but one could be coming to start the second quarter. St. Mary's has it on the Laval 1. After one quarter of the Vanier Cup, the stats, Jamie, look pretty even as reflected on the scoreboard.
They look pretty even, but, you know, I think if you look at Laval stats, I think most of those yards happened actually in the first drive of the football game. I mean, St. Mary's have really held them in check for the most part of the first quarter, except for the opening drive.
And they are on the verge of tying this game. It is first and goal from the Laval 1, and their big backs, Luis Perez and number 31, Eric Hakeem, are in there. The handoff, Perez, touchdown, St. Mary's. Put one on the board for the Huskies.
Well, it's a good move. You know, they take Dean Jones out in that situation. They put in the big back Eric Hakeem. Comes in at 240 pounds as the blocking back, and they put Perez in the eye. A good block, initial block there. Perez gets up high, no question that time. Series of Blake, break the plane. 6 points.
And slowly, St. Mary's has taken the momentum back. It was all Laval in the early going. And since then, the Huskies have done a very good job diffusing it and moving slowly down the field. Jason Curry to make this a tie game. Hasn't missed one all year. In it goes. 7-7. Perez with a touchdown. We get a tie Vanier Cup early in quarter 2. We've got a tie game 7-7 in the second quarter of the Vanier Cup after this Luis Perez touchdown set up by this, Jamie.
And actually a bit of a controversial play here because it looked as if Fleming was in the end zone. Good pass, goes up and catches it. It's where his knee comes down, but they didn't give it to him.
Doesn't matter. They get it anyway. Let's go down to Lee Pedersen.
Well, thank you, Rod. Paul, the guys upstairs said you were in for the touchdown. You didn't get the touchdown, but you made the key play. Your quarterback came back to you after you had some tough luck early. It must feel good.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, that catch before that one, I just forgot about it. I mean, you drop some. I mean, even the great ones drop some. I just had to come up with a big play, and, I mean, I thought I was in. I thought I put the ball in the end zone before I landed, but ref made the call, but I knew Perez would jump, push it in.
You'll take the score anyway.
Oh, that's right. I'll take it all. That's right.
Nice call, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leaf. And yeah, you can be sure, as long as they get the touchdown in the Vanier Cup, we'll worry about the credit later. Get the championship first, right? It's an even game. What a good one we have going here. Matthew Brassard on the kick return, and good coverage by the Huskies, who seem to be pretty fired up right now.
That was a great play by Trefton Bowlers right there, number 20. Wow.
The scoring drive was a long one, considering they started inside the 40-yard line at Laval. 7 plays, 36 yards, and leading up 3 minutes, it seemed like even more than that. That big catch by Paul Fleming to set up the 1-yard plunge by Luis Perez, who's a lot of family, as we mentioned before, watching on satellite from Venezuela. His native land, putting on a good showing so far in this 35th Vanier Cup. The makings of a close one here, and it didn't look that way off the opening drive, but as Jamie alluded to before, St. Mary's defensively had a slow start in the Atlantic Bowl last week and made adjustments. Mathieu Bertrand. Now it's up to him to swing it back the other way, and there's a pass to a wide-open Robillard. Sebastien Robillard has it, first down Laval, and they start going to work right away up to their 45.
that was a real nice pass by Mathieu Bertrand. They're just running right up the sideline, and he puts it right in the hole. I mean, this is a nice pass, nice catch. Laval, you don't want to try and get things back in sync again, similar to what they did in the first quarter. Bertrand goes right to work.
First down, Rougeau. The six-pack is out again, and it's handed off to Stéphane Lefebvre, who has a good gain on first down across the 50 to about the 51. The man who had Laval's touchdown in the early going of this Vanier Cup.
And I think it's what Jacques Chapdelaine would like to do, even though this team is a passing team. They want to try and establish some semblance of run in this football game. Keep St. Mary's honest.
Let's go, Ryan, let's go!
What an organization in Laval.
He was asked about some of the attention getting away from the Grey Cup in the same weekend. He said, what's the Grey Cup? And he's played in that game. Handed off once again to Stéphane Lefebvre, who gets a little closer to a first down. Might have it, depending on the spot.
It's going to be an interesting spot here. I think they're going to be just a little bit short.
Looks like just about a foot shy.
Decision time for Jacques Chapdelaine, right at midfield. I would assume he would go for it here.
Big test for a coach who's done a great job taking over the program after the first year when they went 1-7.
You can see St. Mary's, when they go third down and short, they put in the left tackle, Brad Chalmers. 316 pounds, takes up a lot of space on that defensive line.
So it's gambling time at midfield for Laval. Blake Nill wanted a timeout.
Yeah, he was wanted to make sure everything was straight. Things weren't straight, didn't have the right people on the field. And the last thing he wants to get called for is too many people on there give Laval an easy 5 yards and a first down.
There has been one turnover on a fumble earlier in this game. It was St. Mary's coughing it up, although Laval didn't do much with the ball, and after a short punt, the Huskies were hardly worse for wear.
They also put big Mark Irwin in there, 6'7", 275 pounds in the defensive line for St. Mary's.
And he's not listed as a starter, but he had a good game last week in Halifax in the Atlantic Bowl. A lot of big tackles. On the keeper is Bertrand, and he easily has it. The sticks will move, and Laval will continue this drive with just over 13 minutes to go until halftime. Bertrand played 5 games last year. By the time we saw him in the Dunsmore Cup, the OQ final, he was not around. He was injured. And they had a veteran, a 5th-year quarterback in that game, Dominic Goulet.
And really quite a sad story this year. You know, just on the end of October, his father, Jocelyn, passed away just prior to the Bishop's game, I believe. And he's managed to work himself through it. He says he gets great strength. He says his father's with him here.
That pass for Lefebvre falling incomplete. And so it'll be second down.
You know, an interesting guy for Laval has been Stéphane Lefebvre. You know, throughout the regular season, he really wasn't that involved in their offense. You know, it was primarily Mathieu Brassard.
Brassard had the 10 touchdowns, and Lefebvre had only 1.
But only in the last 2 games, he's really starting to come on here, and they're really using him as quite a weapon.
A touchdown receiving and a touchdown rushing last week in the Churchill Bowl. Play action fake. Bertrand can run as well, and he does. Another first down and more. Mathieu Bertrand inside the St. Mary's 30. And here comes Laval.
And that's the added dimension that Bertrand really adds to this football team. You know, this is a design play all the way. This is not pass. You see, they kind of fake like they're running inside trap, and then they come outside, and he's running it the whole way. He's not even looking downfield. Jay Turgeon gets a nice block here, 87, the wide receiver. You know, you have to have those guys downfield doing a good job, and that's a great block.
Taking out Dennis Arruda. Jean-François Turgeon. Laval over the shotgun now. Bertrand wants to take off again. Well, they temporarily had him tied up, but he gets out of it and picks up some yardage for Laval on first down.
You know, he's a confident runner. You can see, you know, he's a strong guy, gets out of trouble, and then puts his shoulder down and tries to get as many yards as he can. You know, good strength, stands up tall, gets away from the first initial tackler, good balance. Now puts his shoulder down here, bang. He wants to be the hitter, not the hitting.
Doug Borden had a handle on him around the ankle, but just couldn't squeeze long enough to get some help. So a couple of yards instead of a big loss for Laval. 2nd down and 8. Bouncing right back, starting at their 23. 7 plays, 60 yards later. Here are the Rouge et Or. And with more, Lefebvre inside the 15, down to the 12. Another Laval first down.
You know, Laval have an excellent offensive line. You know, we talked about Andre Trudel and Pascal Charon, the 2 All-Canadians, but Steve Dupuis, the right guard here, does just a great job on blocking Joe Bonaventura, number 3. And that just springs Stephane Lefebvre. You know, real nice blocking up front. I mean, he goes through there untouched. There's not a person within 5 yards of him when he's going through the line of scrimmage.
That is a big offensive line, too. You have 3 All-Stars, an All-Canadian, 2 All-Canadians up front, Charon and Trudel, especially on that right side. First down. The pass is complete. The ball was thrown a little low. It gets down to about the 6-yard line for Turgeon. Jean-Francois Turgeon with that nice block Jamie pointed out before. And they're closer. They have to get down either into the end zone or down to about the 3 in order to renew their downs.
And you know, so many teams have receivers that just want to go and catch the ball. You know, I mean, but the good teams and good offensive teams have receivers that go downfield and know how to block. You know, they can stop, they can cut, they do all sorts of good things for your team.
A game of momentum swings, and Laval is swinging it back their way. 5 to the left, but they hand off to Brassard, who is stuffed close to the line of scrimmage. Josh Tavares, the All-Canadian middle linebacker, is there.
Josh Tavares, 5'11", 230 pounds. You know, he's experienced guy, 3rd year at Pickering. Does a good job of sniffing over. Actually, Doug Borden comes across pretty well clean. And then Josh Tavares comes in and finishes it off. It's kind of funny when I'm taking a look at Mathieu Brassard, because I looked at the tapes of him last week, and he had this long flowing mane coming out of the back of his helmet.
Looked like Samson.
Yeah, but now he's cut his hair for the Vanier Cup.
Either Samson or Chris Simon, right?
Okay, 3rd down on the box.
Ready for the field goal?
They try the field goal now. Michel Gagné. And that one hits the post. It's no good. There was a flag. It was attempted from the 12. And they get no points to show for it. Let's see what the flag's all about.
Well, if St. Mary's is offside, they're going to be awful disappointed here.
Now, they're indicating, Chalmers says anyway, that it is against the Rouge et Or, so the offense is coming on the field.
Yeah, they'll decline that one.
Procedure the call against Laval. So, great momentum swing, but no points to show for it on the scoreboard for the Rouge et Or. St. Mary's football, deep in their own zone.
Ball's on the 20, St. Mary's.
Mathieu Bertrand, quarterback of Laval, after a nice drive, but they get nothing for it here. A field goal attempt from the 12.
Well, 12-yarder, you think it's pretty automatic, but, you know, you had to kick it from an angle, and sometimes you overcompensate. He just nails the upright, and it stays out.
And under CIAU rules, the ball comes out to the 20 automatically, so Ryan Jones gets his turn. 1st and 10. St. Mary's dodging a bullet there. Laval should have had a 3-point lead to work with them.
This is real interesting. They have Josh Tavares in the game as a tight end right now. He's a middle linebacker.
See what they're going to do. Running game here, right side. And some tough yardage in there.
And we saw him play Waterloo last week. I never saw Josh Tavares play offense.
Louis Perez, the ball carrier, had the touchdown for St. Mary's and a gain of about 4 yards.
But, you know, Blake Nill is the type of coach who's going to try and get his best players on the field regardless. You know, we saw that with Brad Chalmers playing defense, and now he brings Josh Tavares over to play offense.
Call it 2nd and 6. Huskies. Catch at the 50-yard line. Jason Curry. Big first down. St. Mary's on the move now.
That was just a beautiful throw by Ryan Jones. Run play action pass, 2nd down and 6, lays it up for him. You know, coverage wasn't bad. Lemaire's right there, but boy, he's made some great catches this afternoon. You know, key is he keeps his eye on the football the whole time, never takes his eyes off it. I won't want to check those gloves out, though. I mean, hey, that ball just stuck there.
It was a nice catch. First and 10. Getting close to midfield. The handoff is to Perez. He's had a busy half. And another first down, still on his feet, all the way to the Laval 41.
Hey, you know, St. Mary's have thrown a different look now because, you know, we talked about Tavares coming in and playing tight end. I mean, they were kind of a six-pack, you know, team, didn't have a tight end. Now they're kind of going very static. I mean, look, they're an I team right now. 2 tight ends are running on here off tackle. That's a real nice read by Perez. Gets down the field. But this is something that Laval has not seen. You can see Dean Jones is out of the game. They have Hakeem in there as the blocking back. So this is kind of more of their power set.
And so far it's working with Luis Perez. Gets the football again. This time left side, and a much shorter gain of 2 or 3 yards for St. Mary's. Perez averaging nearly 6 yards a carry. During the regular season, St. Mary's had the 2 top backs in the conference, Dean Jones, who you saw before, and Perez. It's worked well for Blake Nell.
This is a real good coaching move, I think, by St. Mary's now to change it up. You know, they're going to try to make Laval adjust to them. And they always put 2 receivers to the wide side. They go with a real 2 tight end look, I formation.
Now the Rouge et Or on their heels a bit here. Quick pass for Curry, bobbles it, then catches it, and is taken down immediately by Jean-Vincent Posey-Audette.
And, you know, I'm not so sure that's a great second down and long play. I think it's a great first down play, but when you need to get 7 yards, you have to throw the ball down the field a little bit more. And they're trying to get people out and try to get the blocks on them. Actually, that's a great job by Posey-Audette to split the 2 blockers. Ryan Jones blaming himself, saying, I threw the ball too high. I got to throw it at his numbers. You know, you tell a quarterback, you say, when you throw it to the receiver, try to hit him on the chin. Interesting to see what St. Mary's attempt here. Last week in the Atlantic Bowl, Blake Nell told us that when they were inside across their own 50, they didn't like to punt the ball that much. They'd like to do a lot of faking. They'll run with it. Now, we didn't see it at all last week, and probably because they didn't have to do it.
And I wonder if weather conditions entered into that thinking too,
sure,
Jamie, especially last week when the wind was swirling around at Husky Stadium in Halifax. Curry will punt here under perfect conditions, standing just outside the Laval 50. The drive stalls, but once again the Huskies showed that they can move that ball. Slicing towards the sideline, it is taken by Robillard. And good coverage once again by St. Mary's. Joe Bonaventura on that coverage. Coming up later today on TSN following the game. 1999 U.S. Men's Skins game at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific, featuring David Duvall, Fred Couples, Sergio Garcia, and Marco Mira. I believe Payne Stewart was supposed to be at that, and Fred Couples was proud to take his place, of course, after the tragic death of the great golfer Payne Stewart. It's coming up on TSN after the Vanier Cup. Still lots to play here, though, midway through the second quarter, and it is a 7-7 tie. Laval out of the shotgun, starting deep in their own territory, and on the handoff, it's Lefebvre with a flag down, gets it up to about the 14. Lefebvre has had a very busy afternoon. Joe Bonaventura made that great special teams play in on the tackle again.
Usually when you see a flag like that, it's holding. And I think you can see by the look on Stéphane Lefebvre's way he kind of shrugged there. That's exactly what the call is. We'll go back half the distance to the goal line, so it'll be on the 5-yard line.
Number 64. First down repeated.
And it's the All-Canadian Andre Trudel, the Ontario-Quebec Conference Lineman of the Year nominee for the J.P. Metris Trophy.
See the left-hand side. He's holding on number 2. You can't even see his jersey. He pulled it up so hard.
Big pressure, St. Mary's, and they have got Mathieu Bertrand down at the 1. And look at Blake Nell. Defense is his specialty. Mathieu Demers providing the pressure.
And you know, when you're down this close to the goal line, these guys are really going to heat it up. They're just turning it on here right now. They're like a pack of crazed dogs now coming after Mathieu Bertrand. They know that they get him in the end zone here. It's 2 points, and they're going to have to kick back to him, and he just gets it out to the 1. And get second down and 19 yards to go.
And what would you do in this situation?
You know, I think you had to come up with your biggest play of the game. I think you try to throw the ball deeper.
Well, rolling out with lots of time. Bertrand does air it out deep. He's got a man. Pascal Robitaille. What a play, Laval. Wide open, first down.
You know, in big games, big players come up and make great plays. And that's just a great play by Mathieu Bertrand. You know, St. Mary's have all the momentum. Second down and 19. I think they were concerned that he was going to try and run here. And you can see Pascal Robitaille, his favorite receiver, had 46 catches coming into this game. You know, he turns it in like it's going to be a post, and he takes it back outside, and Bowles gets caught looking at the quarterback.
Up across the 50 for Laval. New life on this drive. Bertrand rolling to his right, throwing, of course, with his left, and completed again to Robitaille. Second straight catch, another big one down near the St. Mary's 40.
And you can really see the difference when you have a quarterback that is so mobile that can get outside and put pressure on the perimeter of the defense. Good job by Pascal Robitaille. Not 6 feet, 188 pounds. Just finds that hole in the zone and sits in it. You know, you see great awareness. He's kind of looking out of the corner of his eye to see where the St. Mary's defenders are and making sure he does not cover himself.
The ball is on the St. Mary's 41. Laval with two beautiful plays quickly on the move here. They run a quick draw to Lefebvre. And he's taking off down inside the 20. Could be gone. Touchdown, Laval. He stayed in bounds. And the Rouge et Or are back on top in this Vanier Cup.
You know, Blake Neal's concerned coming into this game. He said Laval spread the receivers out so much, it creates so much, they're so thin inside. That means they don't have a lot of people inside. But what a burst of speed to get around the corner and beat Curtis Nash into the end zone.
Tiptoeing down the sideline, Stephane Lefebvre has his second touchdown of this Vanier Cup.
Wow.
And Michel Gagne makes it a 7-point lead once again. 5:42 to go until halftime. Rouge et Or 14, St. Mary's 7. Mathieu Bertrand's team leads, but he plays this game with a heavy heart. A month ago, his father, Jocelyn, his biggest supporter, died suddenly.
I went to see him after practice that night, drove into to the family house, to the family home, and visited a little bit with him, and obviously the family was quite shaken up. The next day, as we were playing, I mean, Matthew told me that night he was going to play the next day, but you know, we put no pressure whatsoever on him. I think, as you mentioned, the team was quite shaken up in the sense that all the kids on the team were quite close to Mr. Bertrand. And he was a great guy. I mean, he came to, I think sometimes he came earlier to the games than we all did, and he was always there for everybody, and he was a true fan and a parent and a friend to some of these kids.
I have Mrs. Bertrand. Tell me your thoughts on your son and on the game.
I'm very proud of him and all the team.
Now, you say Mathieu you really liked the game when he was a little boy.
He was 5 years old when he began.
And this is a close game, right?
Oh, I want 2 touchdowns more.
Thank you very much for your time. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and what a wonderful and very proud moment, I'm sure, for Mathieu Bertrand's mother. Laval leading at 14-7 after another touchdown by Stephane Lefebvre, and so St. Mary's has been called upon again to answer back, and it is Adam Gillen on the return for the Huskies, getting it up to his 30. A back-and-forth game so far in this Vanier Cup, and what a scoring drive, Jamie, for the Rouge et Or.
Well, actually, 4 plays, 100 yards, but they were back in their own 1-yard line, and it only took them 3 plays to go 109 yards because of that holding penalty and the subsequent sack on the one. So really quite a remarkable drive when it looked like St. Mary's had all the momentum on defense. And Laval just snuffs it out just like that.
Just like that. So out of the shotgun, Ryan Jones will go to work again over the middle. Had a man, but it was low. Incomplete. Second down, Huskies. And the intended receiver is slow to get up. It is Paul Fleming.
And, you know, St. Mary's have now gone back to that kind of six-pack look where they have 6 receivers in there. When they went back in the backfield, have gotten away from the double tight ends and the 2 receivers in the I formation. Changing up, there's Gord Beatty, the offensive line coach. Came with Blake Neal from St. Francis Xavier. And that's usually a pass that Ryan Jones really likes to throw, the one over the middle right in the seam, and he's kind of seemed to miss that one. A little bit of confusion there with St. Mary's now on offense. Patrick Tebow.
He's got everybody out. 4 to the right, 2 to the left, looking to the left, and it's complete to the freshman Dave Stella. And it's a first down, St. Mary's up across their 40.
You know, I like that play when they put 5 receivers to one side, then they isolate on the backside one-on-one. And this is what you're always trying to look for in matchups is, where's the one-on-one? Where's the guy one-on-one? And you see they got him down there in a linebacker. That's Van Slett, number 91. And anytime you get a wide receiver hooked up with a linebacker, you're going to go to the wide receiver.
Stella, another Hamilton native in this game, and there are several of them with the Huskies. Closer to home, out of the shotgun, and a quick inside handoff there on the draw to Dean Jones. He gets about 4 yards on the play up across the 45.
Francisco Pepe Esposito, the defensive lineman for Laval, does a nice job of coming off the end and closing hard inside on Dean Jones. You can see the kind of quickness Dean Jones possesses. And we have Hugues Beauchamp, I believe, is down again, the injured Laval Rougeois.
Well, they attend to Beauchamp. We'll take another break. This is the Vanier Cup on TSN. Back at Skydome, this is the second time Hugues Beauchamp, the Laval rush end, has been injured, and this one looks much more serious. A couple of teammates coming on to help him off. You see the grimace on his face. It is his right knee. I believe, Jamie, that was the same problem he had before.
It was the same problem, Rod. He left the game earlier with a bad knee. Didn't seem to be obviously as serious, and he came back in, and now he's re-injured it again, and this time it is much more serious.
It is 2nd and 6, St. Mary's. The ball at their 45. Chapdelaine's Laval Rougeois leading the Huskies 14-7. And what has been a very good Vanier Cup so far. Momentum swings back and forth, and now St. Mary's trying to answer back. Down by a touchdown. Way out to the right, it's Jay Curry with it. Has a first down, Huskies again across midfield.
And I tell you, Rod, that was an excellent move by Jason Curry, because when he catches the football, he does not have the first down. And 2 defenders out there ready to bring him down, and makes a good little juke and gets back inside and gets the first down. Ryan Jones looks out. This is the one they threw a little bit earlier. This time he hits him right on the numbers. But a good move here, comes back inside and gets upfield and dives for the first down. That's a real heads-up play, knowing where the yard markers are at all times. So he doesn't have the first down here at all yet, and dives forward and gets it.
Under 4 minutes to go until halftime here at Skydome. Audibles for Ryan Jones. The 6-pack out again for St. Mary's. Under pressure, but getting away from it. Downfield, wide open, but over the head of Adam Gillen. A flag down, though, in the backfield of St. Mary's just before he got it away. It looks like holding against the Huskies.
Yeah, that play would have gone for naught, but nonetheless, they had Adam Gillen wide open. Ryan Jones does a pretty good job of escaping the pressure, rolling back out to his right, and he just overthrows him a little bit. You know, sometimes there's a tendency, Rob, when you have a guy so wide open like that, you know, you want to try to hand him the ball.
That can be the worst for a quarterback,
right? It absolutely is.
Holding, 61. Is declined. Second down.
Jean-Michel Sylvain, the right tackle for St. Mary's, called in the holding. The penalty declined. 2nd and 10 now. Ball right at midfield.
Top of your screen, number 61. Calling that a hold. I guess he's got a hold of his jersey, but yeah, I think he had him.
Interesting, they declined the penalty.
That makes it 2nd down and 10.
Instead of the 1st and 20. Throwing on that 2nd and 10 has Curry. Another first down. St. Mary's to the 36.
You know, we talked about Mathieu Bertrand rolling to his right, and he's left-handed and making a great throw. Well, this guy here's rolling to his left, and he's a righty, making a real tough throw inside to Jason Curry. You know, they're working two underneath receivers outside, and then they bring in Jason Curry into that hole. And he just throws a nice strike in there because the coverage is pretty good. You see Philippe Gosselin, number 11 in there. Jason Curry having a great game. 5 catches, 56 yards so far this afternoon.
These teams have shown a lot of savvy so far. Strong defenses, but offense is opportunistic, taking what they're getting. Dean Jones, not much inside, a couple of yards for St. Mary's. It'll be second and long again, 2:48 in the clock until halftime.
And you know, we've seen St. Mary's come back off with that look where it looks like they're running a little bit of an option, even though they hand the ball inside. We've yet to see them kind of run the option look. We've been taking down the line and then pitch it to the pitchback. And that's really not a true option. I mean, it looks like an option, but it's not. It's a defined play that's they're going to hand the ball off. So they give the look, but there's no read and roll from the quarterback.
They saw a lot of the option last week against the Waterloo Warriors, who run it to near perfection, although that St. Mary's defense did a wonderful job. 3-minute whistle has been blown in. It is second and 8. A 14-7 Laval game, but here come the Huskies once again, looking to tie it by halftime. Rolling out into the shotgun as Jones has a man wide open. Once again, he is overthrown. And Ryan Jones knows it. Jason Curry would have had an easy first down for St. Mary's, but the ball was high.
You know, it's a different route, but it's the same kind of pass that he threw the last time. He overthrew him a little bit. I mean, well-designed play. The receiver goes down and hooks, and then he slides to the back to the outside. And Laval are all looking back inside, thinking that he's going to slide inside to a post. You can see Ryan Jones out of Waterdown, Ontario, just down the street here, close to Hamilton, claps his hands in frustration. St. Mary's come on to attempt a field goal.
Jay Curry's longest this year is 35. This attempt will be from 41.
And remember, all he has to do is get it out to the 1, but you've got one of the most dangerous return men in Canada back there.
And Daniel Fleury, one of the fifth-year guys for Laval. He's been there since day one. This one is low. A return opportunity, to be sure, for Fleury. He does not look to be getting out. Gets some nice blocks, though, deep in his own end zone. Kyle Morrison chasing him down. He does get it out. And so the ball will come out to the 20-yard line under those CIAU rules. 2:17 on the clock until halftime, and it's still a 14-7 game Laval at the Vanier Cup. Many of the fans in attendance today cheering on the Rouge et Or. 17 busloads coming from Laval. They love their football and that young program there, and they love that score, 14-7. With the ball now.
They certainly squeezed him in last week into Pep Stadium in Quebec City.
Capacity 8,000, over 12,000 were at that one, the Churchill Bowl. Sellouts all year. Over the middle, nearly intercepted. Sean Mifflin, the safety, could have had a big pick for the Huskies late in this half.
And, you know, he saw that one coming the whole way. I mean, he was kind of baiting Bertrand to throw it in there because he saw the crossing receiver. In the middle of your screen, you're going to see number 17, Sean Mifflin, that he sees it coming. They're trying to throw the ball, steps in front, almost comes up with an interception. And my, that would have changed the complexion going in at halftime.
Would it ever? That was intended for Mathieu Brassard. Second down. Throwing again. Bertrand. Under pressure, down he goes. They'll be punting. Good pressure again from the Huskies up front. And they'll get another chance at this with 2 minutes exactly. Mathieu Demers involved once again for St. Mary's.
Good pressure by St. Mary's to Mathieu Bertrand down. Lake Mills defense managed to step up after that long drive that put Laval up ahead by 7 points.
Punting situation, the quarterback Bertrand standing at his 2. And he has not punted all that well today. The snaps have been low to him. So this could be a big play. That snap is perfect. And a much better punt, his best of the day, chasing St. Mary's. Back to the 50, it's Chris Bates, the return specialist. He's taken down, good coverage, Laval. Down at the 53, 1:35 on the clock. Larry Utek. We will have a feature on Utek at the half. He recruited many of these players. One of them, a former Husky, Steve Sardi, talked about Utek's recruiting process.
I received a call from him in my last year of high school football, and it was, it was like getting a call from a kid in the States. I'm sure would liken it to Bobby Bowden. It was just, it was like, oh my, this is Larry Utek wanting me to come to St. Mary's, and it was just a thrill of a lifetime for me, and there was no thought process. It was like, he wants me to come there, I'm going to St. Mary's.
The pass for Adam Gillen, and it goes incomplete. We'll have a halftime feature on the former head coach of the St. Mary's Huskies, still a very influential and inspirational person for this Husky team. What a nice moment it was, and we showed pictures of that before, Jamie, about how they shared that Atlantic Bowl victory with him.
Now you see Ryan, he's just looking downfield here, but he was predetermined there because he had Patrick Thibault coming across the formation and no one picked him up. But he's just locked into Gillen there, and you can see that that ball was he was covered.
2nd and 10. St. Mary's out of the shotgun with 4 to the right for Jones again, looking the other way. And it's caught. It's Travis Tyler. The big catch in the first quarter, another one there. The sticks will move. 1:21 on the clock.
And there we go with that matchup again, where they put 5 receivers to the right. They have the one on the short side, and they lock him up, a wide receiver with a linebacker. It's Etienne Van Slett on the coverage, number 91. I mean, he's a good football player, but I mean, he's not going to cover a wide receiver outside one-on-one.
Gain of 15. 1st and 10. Huskies down by 7 with time to put more on the board and make this a closer game.
And they've got to get going here. I mean, time is running off the clock.
1:10 and counting down. Looking to the right. Wide open. Complete Gillen. Not much, maybe 3 yards. It'll be 2nd and long.
Now they got to get up over the ball. There's only 1:02 left. That was a nice job by Jean-Vincent Posiadet, the all-Canadian safety. Biggest defensive back Laval has, 6 feet, 202 pounds in his 4th year.
For several players, it's the final game, win or lose. Gillen's one of them in his 5th year out of Charlottetown. And it's time with the injured player down. Jones over to the sideline. We'll take a break and be back right after this. Husky section silently waiting to see what St. Mary's can do, and reason to cheer. Boy, it seemed like the St. Mary's network on TSN back in the late 80s, early 90s, when the Vanier Cup appearance was quite a common thing. It's been 7 years, not since the loss to Queens in '92, but the Huskies are back. And very much in this game, close to halftime. Under a minute to go, they're down by 7. The ball's in Laval's end. And that one caught by Gillen. And the veteran has close to first down yardage, just about a yard shy.
And he's going to be a little bit short here. It's what's so critical when you're in this kind of a situation. You got to make sure that you go down and run your route so that you know how far you have to get for the first down. I mean, you need first downs here right now, because now it's going to be 3rd down and 1. And not only do they have to go down, they can throw the ball here, they can run it, but it's going to take time off the clock. There's only 36 seconds left. Blake Neal would like nothing more than to have 6, 7 more points on before halftime.
Electing not to try for the 3 and keep this drive going. How big is this? Quick pass, complete first down. Patrick Thibault gets it out of bounds. 32 seconds on the clock.
And they've got a great matchup there with Patrick Thibault. He's lined up with the linebacker Francis Beauvoin. And again, you've got a real speedy receiver against a linebacker. I thought they might try and take him right down the seam. Now, they needed the first down here, so they threw it outside. You see the separation. I mean, he's not even close to him. And this is what teams try to look for, all these kind of matchups.
Another Quebecer playing for the Huskies, Patrick Thibault from Victoriaville. And first down, 32 seconds, within field goal range right now, but looking for more, looking to tie this game and head to the locker room. Jones, end zone, too far. Intended for Paul Fleming, who had a big catch to set up St. Mary's only touchdown so far, but that one just out of his reach.
And they were going for him all the way. He was double covered, actually, and I thought the guy, if he had a little more time and got set up, they had Patrick Thibault deep in the end zone, and he had beaten his man.
"25 seconds on the clock as Blake Neal looks on. A rain of boos coming down now. A lot of fans seeing themselves on the big screen here, and that was concern for the players heading in, not to look up at the big jumbotron. Get too wrapped up in that and become a spectator. Jones throwing again, another completion. It's Tebow again, and out of bounds. 17 on the clock, and they get a little bit closer, down to around the 20.
And now they've got a real decision here to make. You know, it's third down, and they're going to be well within Curry's field goal range with only 17 seconds left. You know, I like Tebow. Tebow's got some really good speed, you know. Catches the ball real well. He's nice, quick. You see, Ryan Jones calls the timeout.
Ryan Jones calls it, so St. Mary's will think it over. Jones going over to talk to Blake Nell. We'll be back after this. Well, the Huskies thought it over, and Blake Nell decided, let's go for the sure thing. Let's go for the 3.
And that's a smart move here, Rod. You know, they're only down 7 points. I mean, this makes it a 4-point game if they get it, well within Jason Curry's field goal range. And, you know, they played pretty well, St. Mary's so far. This is a great football game, so you got to take your points when you have the opportunity in which to get them.
The ball will be spotted at the 27-yard line. For Jason Curry, 17 seconds on the clock. If it's good, it would make it 14-10. Cut the lead to 4. Heading to the half. Down and up and wide. Wide right. So not a sure thing. And taken out by Fleury. Watch out. This guy's dangerous. He's hit hard as he's taken down by the hard-hitting Sean Mifflin. So 4 seconds on the clock, and it looks like it'll be a 7-point Laval lead at the half.
Well, it's got to hurt St. Mary's, you know, getting down so close and coming out with 0 points. Attempted 2 field goals today, haven't hit any of them. It's a big hit with Sean Mifflin on Daniel Fleury, but not before he gets out of the end zone.
Some things balance off if you consider that Laval did the same thing, drove down, and they had a kick. Michel Gagnes went off the upright, and they came up with nothing.
And it really shows you how important the kicking game is in Canadian football.
Mathieu Bertrand surrounded by his friends, and will just down it now. The dying seconds of the first half. Still 2 showing on the clock, so they'll do it all again. Some big plays in this first half, especially for Jacques Chapdelain's Laval team that is 30 minutes away from its first national championship. But boy, you get the feeling it could be very close down to the wire. We're at the half, the Vanier Cup, and it's Laval leading it 14-7. Now let's go down to Alex J. Walling.
Okay, well, we have the coach here doing his job. We're doing your thoughts, coach, on the game.
Well, we got to keep driving the ball a little bit better. We got to find a way to stop the pass on the other side.
Any surprises?
Not at this point in time, where we know they're a good team, and that's what they're showing right now.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So all business for Jacques Chapdelain. Both of these teams have shown they mean business. It's been a good, entertaining first half of football. We'll be back with more. The halftime show here at Vanier Cup 35. Pretty low scoring and close. First half of football at Vanier Cup 35 here at Skydome. Laval leading it 14-7 over St. Mary's. As we told you before the opening kickoff, former St. Mary's head coach Larry Utek is suffering from Lou Gehrig's disease. If you happened to catch the final moment of the Atlantic Bowl last week, you would understand how near and dear he is to that St. Mary's program. A moment of really of cherishment for these St. Mary's Huskies players. You can tell how much they still appreciate their former head coach. Larry Utek's desire to win and passion for the game has certainly been recognized by his peers. So when news of his illness was made public, it deeply affected the hearts of the football community and those especially who are closest to him.
I think the most difficult part is everyone starting to say goodbye, and people sometimes forget to say hello. They more tend to say goodbye.
This has to be tough for him because it's, you know, it must be very frustrating for him because he was such a, you know, such a proud and strong guy. So this type of thing that's happening with him, it obviously must be tough for him.
He is known for being a tough competitor from his days as a player in the CFL.
He was drafted by Toronto, where I wanted to play, and of course after he was picked, Saskatchewan took me. Now, it didn't turn out too bad either, but Larry bugged me at the time. We became close friends after our professional careers, and You know, as I think about Larry, there's so much been said about it, but I think the city of Halifax and St. Mary's University really owe Larry Utek, the coach, the player, and the person, a great debt of gratitude, and he's one of the great guys in Canadian sports. Alex J., I know you know Larry very well, and your thoughts on him as well.
You know, Leaf, one famous coach once said, there's God, there's family, and there's your team. And there's no doubt that's the priority of Larry Utek. And while he is the athletic director, make no bones about it, the football program is his baby. And you know, there are people, we know coaches in the States, the Bear Bryants, but in Canada, we have our legends, the Mattresses, the Tyndalls, Don Loney, and I really believe Larry Utek belongs in there. Gentlemen?
Well put. Thank you, Alex. Well, I know a lot of St. Mary's players would love to win it for him and, of course, for themselves as well. Right now, they trail 14-7 at the half. We'll be back with more of the Vanier Cup after this. The colors rouge et or, red and gold, popular ones right now. 14-7 for Laval, leading St. Mary's at the half in Vanier Cup 35. Yeah, they're waving the flag, I should say, with pride right now over the St. Mary's Huskies. Well, maybe Laval is the model program in the CIAU. This is a program that is funded independently, outside sponsors, independent of the actual school that the team represents. Now, one win came in the first season, 1996, that was it. But of course, the program gradually improved. There's been tremendous support at Laval, but the Stade du Peps last weekend, they had 12,000 fans and a capacity for 8,000. One win in 96, but thanks to all the support they've been getting, they are now one win away from a national championship.
Line for Laval. Another first down after a 12-yard gain. Bertrand in trouble. He escapes. He scores! Touchdown,
It is perhaps the most amazing story in the CIAU this year. A school that did not have a football program 5 years ago is now in the Vanier Cup.
When we started the program 5 years ago, we kind of forecast that it would take about 4 or 5 years to be a very competitive team. Obviously, we didn't forecast that it was going to be that competitive and that good. So yes, I'm very surprised. I'm surprised that it came that quickly.
I'm surprised first from the way they play. They're already at the Vanier Cup just after 4 years. It's really fast for a football program. Nobody expected that because the first year was really tough. The second year was difficult too.
The driving force behind the creation of the Rouge et Or's football program was Mike Labadie, who also coached the team during its inaugural season of '96.
I knew there was a certain amount of players that were very interested in playing at the university level, and all we needed was a university that could house a program. And I felt that Laval, being a very huge school with a great academic reputation, would have been was an ideal environment to start to work on bringing a football program together here. And we provided an avenue for developing players, and now hopefully a lot of these players may get an opportunity to move on to the next level.
And in 4 short seasons, the Rouge et Or find themselves playing in front of huge partisan crowds and representing not only Laval, but also Quebec City and perhaps even the entire province.
Not just pride from the city, but I think we've got so many facts this week, people congratulating us and saying go all the way, it's about kind of French school wins this and all that. So there is, I think, a provincial kind of awareness of what the Rouge et Or has done for Francophone football.
It's not only the university team, it's a Quebec City team. This team could be the Rouge et Or of Quebec City.
So with the support of a university, a city, and a province behind them, the Laval Rouge et Or are just one win away from fulfilling a dream that began just a few short years ago.
I think it was done with a lot of pride and a lot of harmony from within, just because of the heritage and the aspect that now we're together. We finally have an opportunity to do something and to showcase our talent together.
Well, this has certainly been an on-field success story, Jamie. I just think of the past, St. FX, University of Toronto, Alberta. I mean, fiscally in the 90s, it's been hard in Canadian university football. What do you think? Is this being maybe a role model for the future?
Well, you know, actually, I think it is going to be. I think, you know, schools now are pressed to find creative ways to finance their athletic programs with budgets all tight at the university level. And, we saw Regina Rams do it this year, joining University of Regina, and now we've seen Laval do it in their model. So I think we're going to continue to see those type of models develop.
Well, it's been incredible how far this team has come since coming in 1996. They lead midway through the national championship game of '99. We'll be back with more. Huskies aren't celebrating yet. They're down by 7, but they have no reason to be down. It's been a very close Vanier Cup so far at the half. 14-7 for the Laval Rouge or. Well, there is an award winner in this game. The head coach from St. Mary's, Blake Nill, won the Frank Tyndall Trophy as the coach of the year. I'm sure he'd rather get the Vanier Cup, and the double is rare in this regard. The last coach of the year that also won the Vanier the same week, Rich Newbrough, that was all the way back in 1991 with Laurier. Here's who else won the individual honors when they were handed out in the last 2 days. The winner of the Peter Gorman Trophy for Rookie of the Year was linebacker Sébastien Roy from Mount Allison University. Roy was surprised that with so many talented rookies on offense, the award went to a defensive player.
I'm a linebacker, and most of the time I think this kind of always go to the offense player and stuff. And I'm really happy. I don't know why I can feel about that. I'm so surprised. It's a pretty good feeling, I think. It's an awesome feeling.
The President's Trophy for Outstanding Defensive Player went to linebacker Mike Letendre from the University of Saskatchewan Huskies. Letendre led the CIAU in tackles this year.
I wouldn't be up here right now if it wasn't for the other 11 guys on defense and the rest of my teammates.
The J.P. Metris Trophy for the Outstanding Lineman went to Tyson St. James, a defensive end with the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds. The 24-year-old political science major has a message for potential CIAU student athletes.
I think it's a university degree is definitely a good goal to have for anybody coming out of high school, and if that's where you want to go, playing sports and going to university, I think it's it's the best time I've had in my life right now, and I think I've suggested to anyone.
The Frank Tyndall Award for Coach of the Year was given to Blake Nill of the St. Mary's Huskies. He led a team that was 1-7 2 seasons ago to 7-1 this year and a berth in the Vanier Cup final.
I'm almost embarrassed to have my name on there, like it's, I look down, I see Coach Haler, I see Coach Towers, and I say, what am I doing accepting an award that these guys have won?
The Heck Crichton Award for the Player of the Year in the CIAU went to University of Ottawa GG quarterback Phil Cote. The 23-year-old business administration student was quick to share the credit.
My teammates are so important for me. My O-line was pretty much a rookie O-line, and they came in, and it's not easy to block for a guy like me who runs around with his head cut off in the backfield, and my receiver is making outstanding catches.
The TSN Russ Jackson Award goes to the player who best combines academics, athletics, and community service. And this year's recipient is Carlo Pinero of the Alberta Golden Bears. This first-team All-Canadian center is currently in medical school and is actively involved in his community.
The most important thing about playing sports is being around quality athletes and teammates. I mean, they're unbelievable people, unbelievable friends. You get to meet people from around the country and around the province of Alberta.
And congratulations to all this year's award winners in the CIU. Great year, but of course one big one still remains the Vanier Cup. Laval in the first half got the early jump on this one. The opening drive of the game was all Rouge or Jamie.
Yeah, and then they got it down close to the goal, and they like to run trap draw here. And what a great block by the right tackle in the trap. Andre Trudel, the All-Canadian. Laval get into the end zone, and they're up 7 points.
But St. Mary's, to their credit, answered back in a big catch here. Looked like it was a touchdown.
Yeah, it looked like it. I mean, Fleming's going down, working hard outside, the ball thrown right in that hole. It goes up, makes a nice catch, but with his knee down before the ball crossed the plane of the end zone, well, it doesn't matter. The referee said no, so it set up this second down plunge, or first down plunge by Luis Perez to put St. Mary's up 7, and they were tied 7-all.
That was the first play of the second quarter. This, the play of the day so far. Laval hemmed deep in their own zone.
Yeah, second down and 19 on your own 1-yard line. This is just a tremendous pass to Pascal Robitaille all the way down the field. That got Laval out of big trouble and set him up with this touchdown.
They move the ball so quickly, just 4 plays, 100 yards. It ends this way.
And again, you know, this is just a dynamite job by up front, and they kick it outside, and now it's just a foot race here. Outruns Curtis Nash to the end zone, and this put Laval up 14-7.
Stefan Lefebvre with 2 touchdowns in the Vanier Cup. He had 2 last week, MVP of the Churchill Bowl. We still have 30 minutes to play, though. The fans are loving the Vanier Cup on TSN. At the half, St. Mary's has some work to do, but still very much in this game, down by 7. Let's go down to Lee Pedersen.
Thanks very much, Rod. The head coach of the St. Mary's Huskies, Blake Neal. Blake, other than the opening drive by Laval, you guys settled down. Your assessment of your team's play?
Well, like we were saying before, it's just a matter of a couple big plays is all that they've really done other than that first drive. We're going to come out here and play the same type of football. We're not going to change anything. We're going to pressure the quarterback. Our offense is moving the ball well, and we're going to make them beat us the second half here.
Any specific changes to try to slow down Stefan Lefebvre, their running back?
Well, I think we just got to tighten up here. Like I said, it's just a couple big plays. I thought we lost contain there twice, and the kids are just getting a little aggressive, the kids on the corner there, so you just got to make sure they play their position.
Try and stay calm. Have a good second half.
Thank you very much.
All right. Rod, back to you.
Thank you, Leaf. Here are the stats at the half here at Skydome. And once again, the numbers very similar, although give the edge in net yardage to Laval so far.
Yeah, it's a pretty even game so far. And, you know, you think of, I just think for Laval being able to rush the ball a little bit better than St. Mary's right now, almost doubling the amount. But nonetheless, pretty close game. And the stats, Dick, show that as well.
Even very close within a couple of minutes in time of possession. Michel Gagne. They break out of their huddle here in the kickoff. Laval gets it started. St. Mary's will have the ball first. And on the return, not going too far, Mark Fortier is in there on the tackle. As is number 97, Vincent Devolay and Ryan Jones, 14 of 22. No touchdowns, but none picked off as well. Coming on to lead that St. Mary's offense for the first drive of the second half.
And that's one thing about Ryan Jones this year for St. Mary's. You know, he was, you know, he didn't put up the huge numbers. I mean, but he was very consistent, and he never hurt them. I mean, he only had 4 interceptions all season long, and close to 12 touchdown passes. So it was a great number.
The second half underway on the option. Dean Jones. Good yardage up across the 30 for the Huskies.
Well, we saw in the first half, Rod, they kind of gave that look when they handed it inside to Luis Perez, and we never saw them kind of run the option outside and try to attack the perimeter. This time they get it to Dean Jones. Gets pretty good yardage, 6 yards. See, that's not really a true option because that is a design play. They're going to pitch it to the back, but they give that look that it is option.
Dean Jones in his second year from Irma, Alberta. Second and 5. The draw to Jones. First down and more. Dean Jones up across the 40 to the 42. That play has worked before for the Huskies today, and they get it to move the sticks again, getting closer to midfield.
That's a nice play. Their lead draw, they call it. They go back if they're going to pass, and they lead the fullback through Luis Perez, who makes a nice block on the middle linebacker, Martin Bedard, and that springs Dean Jones. Nicely executed play. Gives St. Mary's a first down.
Last week, the Huskies led at the half over Waterloo 10-7. This time trailing by 7. In both cases, good defensive adjustments kept the game close. And then St. Mary's pulled away last week. Looking to answer back this time with Jones in his 3rd straight carry here on first down, and more good yardage up the middle for St. Mary's.
And, you know, a player's name that just made the tackle, Benoit Meloche, this is really the first time we've mentioned his name this afternoon, and you consider the kind of game he had a week ago.
He was awesome last week.
He was awesome, and, you know, I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, they blitzed the quarterback a lot. Ryan Reed was a quarterback for Saskatchewan. But in the first half, Saskatchewan really didn't do a very good job of picking him up, and I think they got it straightened out in the second half. But nonetheless, a very talented football player, was on scholarship at Michigan State, decided to come back to Laval, and Jacques Chapdelaine is glad to have him.
3 sacks last week. Certainly the top defensive player in that Churchill Bowl. Nearly intercepted twice. Philippe Gosselin had the first shot at it, went through his hands, and then Philippe Lamar might have even had a shot at picking it off.
And that's a pass that Ryan Jones really should not have thrown. I mean, that was covered underneath. They had a guy underneath and a guy on top. You can see he's looking at him the whole way outside, and he's just kind of getting back, getting set, and throwing. And there's no way you were going to get that one in there.
The best shot at it, obviously, number 11, Philippe Gosselin. And he knows it. Instead, St. Mary's will be punting instead of turning it over. Standing at his 31, Jason Curry. A low punt. And it's a great return man, and Daniel Fleury flags down as he gets it up across to the 43. Could be coming back, however.
Yeah, it is coming back. There was a clip almost where he was just getting around the corner.
Marc Fortier, number 8 for Laval, looks to be the one who was called on that play.
You know, you teach that, you teach that, you teach that. You teach kids, you know, if you can't see the front of his jersey, don't touch him. You can see number 8 in the middle of your screen comes down here and makes the block there. And the referees are going to flag you every time. And, you know, actually,
pushing the rear during the
return.
return.
Really didn't
Number
have
8. First down.
So first down Laval, however, instead of up at the 43, down at their 19. So a big swing in terms of yardage. They've started that deep before and done well.
And you know the tough thing here, too, is that when you do a play like that, you come off and you say that great numbers, Matthew McMahon, 7 of 14, going to throw the ball 14 times.
Here's Matthew Broussard. A rare carry for him on this day. Normally the feature back. He gets it up to the 29. Looks like a first down for Laval.
I was going to say earlier, when you make a mistake like that and you do clip and, you know, you come off and say, I didn't really clip him. Well, you got the big Jumbotron here and they replay everything. So you can see the coach looking up there saying, no, I saw that. Good job by Broussard. Hasn't carried the ball that much this afternoon. It's been primarily Stéphane Lefebvre. But he was the big ball carrier for the Laval Rouge et Or throughout the whole season.
10 touchdowns, led the way with 10.
And 700 yards rushing.
And runs the ball and also catches it well out of the backfield. He demonstrated that.
And not real big, you know, 5'8", 183 pounds. In his third year out of Alma, Quebec.
So many talented Francophone football players who really didn't have a chance at too many schools until Laval came along. And of course, there are Francophones at schools like St. Mary's and Ottawa U and right across the CIU for that matter.
Yes,
but to have the choice and go to an all-French school, and that's the opportunity opened up by Laval when they started that program, and they tapped into a wealth of great football players in the province of Quebec. Got a lot of them on their team. 1st and 10, the handoff inside. It's Broussard carrying again on first down at his short yardage. Pick up of about 3 yards.
You know, we asked Jacques Chapdelaine this week about the resurgence of football in the province, and he felt it really started in the mid-1980s. He said, you know, the people that ran the football provincial programs in the province of Quebec started to really do a good job at the grassroots level. And he said it's just exploded. And just witness the kind of crowds they get in the Quebec City or Saint-Foy for the Rouge et Or games, and the number of Francophones playing the sport.
On the toss, Lefebvre, 2 touchdowns this game. Not going to get one there. He is wrapped up right away, taken down. Scott Matuli, 49, St. Mary's.
It's a real good play by St. Mary's. You know, their attitude is we want to play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. We don't want to be passive. We don't take blocks on and shut them. We come in and try and make things happen.
So defense is taking over in this game in this second half, as Bertrand will be back at his 15 to punt this one away. Nearly 5 minutes gone.
You know, one thing we noticed earlier when St. Mary's was in return mode, you know, their front line kind of hit and then peeled off. And it looked like there's some room, and especially when you have a dangerous guy like Bertrand back there who can run the football, you got to be aware of that.
Not much pressure this time. Well, a little bit closer. Nice punt, Bertrand. Gillen takes it back at his 33. And he's upended at the 40, where the Huskies will go to work once again. 10:29 to go in three-quarter time. It's 14-7 Laval in the Vanier Cup. This is the 7th year in a row that a Vanier Cup fan has driven away the owner of a brand new Chevrolet. It'll be in your seat next year, and it could be yours. And look at this. Brand new 2000 Chevrolet Cavalier Z24. The key works. So Todd Stackenvicious, the winner of this 2000 Chevrolet Cavalier. The key to success, and Todd had it that time, Now he knows how he's going to get home, Jamie.
He's my new best friend. I'm going to take a ride with him.
Need a ride tonight? There you go. There's your guide. Do you have gas in the tank? That's the next question. This offense still should, even though there's 7 points on the board for St. Mary's, they've steadily proven that they have the ability to put a drive together. But only one touchdown in the day so far, starting from their 40. It's Gillen with the ball. They run a reverse, and he gets nothing on it. Maybe a loss of a yard.
Well, it looked initially like St. Mary's were going to get around the corner, but Martin Bedard, the inside linebacker for Laval, did a real nice job of forcing it upfield, stringing it out a little bit. He's one of the original 5. This is his 5th year at Laval. Now, only his 4th year of eligibility, I believe, because their first year they just played totally exhibition games.
Right.
So it did not count.
There were a few of them. Daniel Fleury, Andre Trudel. The original 5, their 5th year now. Jones rolling, throwing, completing near first down yardage for St. Mary's.
It's going to be close, depending where they spot it, but I think from here he's going to be just a little bit short.
Paul Fleming on the receiving end once again, very close to a St. Mary's first down.
Looks like St. Mary's are going to go for it, even if it is 3rd down. He knows where he is. He's trying to turn, and you can see how close it is. They have the markers on the Laval side at this half, so he went right up where the markers are, and it is short by inches.
And so it's gambling time near midfield for St. Mary's. Look for the keeper. Jones does it himself and easily has that first down. I suppose not as much of a gamble when you're only inches away.
Especially when you have to give that yard in the neutral zone.
Of course, when a 3rd down situation late in the half, they elected to try the field goal, and Jason Curry put it off to the right.
It's a good job by Ryan Jones. You know, their offense got up there and got set, and Laval were still kind of getting down their stance, and he snapped the ball. So, good heads-up play.
St. Mary's on the move. Under 10 minutes in the 3rd quarter remaining. Down by 7. Quick hit inside. Luis Perez has about 3 yards. Be 2nd and long. Huskies again. Looking to win the national championship for the first time since 1973.
Martin Bedard again in on the hit. You know, the interesting thing about Bedard as well, Rod, is that he did not play football prior to going to Laval. And here he is, a starting middle linebacker in the Vanier Cup 5 years later. And that's really quite a testament to the coaching staff at Laval to turn a player. They said he was a good athlete, never played. Now in the biggest game of his life.
On 2nd and 6. And out of the shotgun. Jones trying to set up a screen. They're onto him. And he's running for his life. He gets it away. Caught. No. Dropped. He had it. He couldn't hang on. Curry would have had a first down at the Laval 30. Instead, excuse me, Dave Stalla. Instead, it is coming back, and they will be punting it away.
This could have been a big play. Laval got caught a little bit here. They tried to blitz Jean-Vincent Posiadet, number 3, and he misses Ryan Jones, and Jones does a good job of turning around and putting the ball right on the money. I mean, you just cannot throw the ball any better than that when you're on the run. You got to come up with plays like that. You can see he just didn't follow the ball in all the way, kind of had his head up.
That was Stalla, not Curry. Curry is standing back at his 40 now to punt this one away. Low. It's coming down to about the 15. They're just falling on it right there. Simon Verino on the return. 14-7 Laval with the ball when we come back. Be sure you watch Sports Desk Extra with John Wells tomorrow from Vancouver, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time, with emphasis on the Grey Cup, of course, between the Hamilton Tiger Cats and Calgary Stampeders. It's a championship weekend. And we're glad you could tune in for this part of it, the CIAU, the Vanier Cup, here on TSN. First down, Laval. Bertrand moving to his left. He is taken down.
They were trying to run naked boot here, and they had Kyle Morrison, the kind of defensive lineman, linebacker, defensive back. I mean, they don't really know where to play him. He plays so well. right on the right top of your screen here, number 40 comes running in here. They're trying to run naked, and then they try to turn around Pascal Charon to try to block him, but it's too late. He's in there like a shot. Trying to roll around, bang, comes right through him. Now, the interesting thing is about Kyle Morrison, he's from Australia.
Australian rules football.
There you go.
He's figured out this game pretty nicely. Dropping back, return over the middle, wide open. God, what a takedown that was. Shy of a first down as well. Brassard.
When we were talking yesterday, I believe Alex J told us that Sean Mifflin is one of the best hitters he's seen at safety. Well, we can certainly see it right there. I mean, that's just kind of eating turf right there. Good to hang on to the ball. Takes him right through the thighs. That's a big-time hit. Sorry, it's Curtis Nash.
And here is, we'll show you that one in a second. Laval lining up to punt. Brassard still on. But you're right, Sean Mifflin, not him on that play, but has been known to stick his nose in other people's business as well. Powerful hitter, where a lot of safeties are. Bertrand from his 10. Another good punt. Gillen has it at his 44. So the Huskies will have good field position to go to work again. We were talking about Sean Mifflin and his ability to hit. He had one earlier this season. It was an absolute dandy. Have a look. Against Acadia. Say ouch.
Yeah, say ouch. I mean, that is a big, big-time hit. I mean, wham. You know, he just... Those are the ones you use for coaching clinics as well. He just took every little bit of energy in his body, drove it up through his hips and shoulders. Big hit.
The ball is at the St. Mary's 47. They'll try to move it again, get a little closer. They can get a lot right here. It's caught. It's inside the Laval 30. It's Paul Fleming. Another big catch for Fleming. Huskies are in business.
Boy, this is a great throw by Ryan Jones, getting back in a nice route. They run on the post route. Fin post to backside, play action pass. Philippe Lemare is with him one-on-one. Tries to stick out that left hand and knock it away, but great concentration by Paul Fleming. With St. Mary's within striking distance.
Down to the 28, 1st and 10. Handing off. Good haul. And still on his feet is Dean Jones. The MVP of the Atlantic Bowl last week against Waterloo has been very close to giving St. Mary's another first down. It's a gain of 9 inside the 20.
Not a big tall back, only 5'9", but you can see the kind of balance that he possesses. Keeps his feet moving the whole time. Gets hit, but manages to keep his feet, go forward.
Early in the second half last week, a game-breaking touchdown. A long run, I should say, of 65 yards. And on that second and short, they just keep it over the middle, and they do indeed get their first down. So the Huskies will have an excellent chance to even up this game once again.
Now, in this kind of situation that St. Mary's is in, you see Luis Perez going down on one knee. That's not a good sign for Blake Nill. But when they get down this situation, they like to run those slip screens where they put 3 or 4 receivers to the right-hand side, work the inside receivers out. Take a look at Luis Perez diving up. Remember, he had that ankle problem throughout this season.
He's been running better today, down right now. And we'll take a break as well. 14-7 Laval. Back at Skydome, St. Mary's football, first down in the Laval 17. Huskies trailing by 7. They run a reverse. No, they fake off it and look to the end zone, and it's no good. Fake fooled me, intended for Adam Gillen in the end zone for the second down.
That was a real good adjustment, though, by Daniel Fleury, the corner. I mean, they say he's their best defensive back by far, and, you know, he understands concepts so well. You know, they look like they're running the reverse. He kind of held ground, saw Gillen coming across, and jumped him. And consequently, they couldn't get the pass to Gillen for 6.
Big second down coming up here. Huskies thinking touchdown, not field goal. But they need at least 10. Jones. Outside, Pepe Esposito does, still on his feet, but not nearly enough for the first down. Flags, however, are down in the end zone. What a big call this would be if it went against the Rouge et Or.
Well, it couldn't be interference because the ball wasn't thrown, but it might be holding against Laval.
There is no foul.
I guess there wasn't any foul. Maybe if you had thrown it, they would have said, yeah, there's pass interference.
No harm, no foul.
But it was a run, so they're banging the receivers downfield.
So it's a field goal situation now, clearly. Jason Curry will try again. He's missed 2 so far, including one that was just 27 yards away that would have made it 14-10 at the half.
Ryan Jones is still out there trying to get an explanation from the official of what that call was.
This ball will be spotted at the 19 for Curry. And with 4:12 to go in the third quarter of what has been a pretty defensive ball game, only 21 points on the board, these opportunities are not going to keep coming by. From 19, Curry up and in. And a flag is down, and they're indicating it could be against Laval.
Now,
and if it is, it would be a first down.
Exactly.
Sean Mifflin was quite encouraged, thinking it was a Laval penalty.
They're saying it's procedure against St. Mary's.
In which case, they'll have to try it. They've indicated it's against St. Mary's, a procedure call, so they'll have to try it again, this time from 24 yards away.
Kick again. But I think you were right, Rod. I think St. Mary's were trying to draw Laval offside. And they themselves got caught.
Illegal procedure. St. Mary's not set for a second. Third down repeated.
And see that. See, when you go up to the offensive line, of course, it's only when your hand goes down that you can't move. But you still have to be set for a second. And you can see they were not.
So here we go again. Still a 14-7 game. Huskies trying to get a little bit closer. And this time the ball will be put down at the 24 for Jason Curry. He had it from 19. Trying to narrow the gap here in this Vanier Cup. Getting late in the third quarter. Curry. Low snap. Up. And it's good again. So he's 2 for 2 on the same play, but they just give him 3 points for it. They do get closer. 14-10 Laval. Vanier Cup. I don't know if they're the best Santas going, but their team is leading right now. Although it's been cut to 4 points, Laval still on top. Let's go down to Lee Pedersen.
Well, Rod, I have Wendy Bedingfield, the president of the CIAU, with us, and pretty competitive game so far.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's close, and the fans are having a great time. It's anybody's game.
Well, while you're in Toronto, you've got some national meetings that begin tomorrow. Can you give us a sneak preview of the agenda? I know there's some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, we're here really, all of the members of the CIAU are here for a day-and-a-half discussions on athletic awards. We have a number of differences amongst our institutions, and we're going to try and sort out what's best for university sport in Canada and then move on.
Well, best of luck. Now, since we're on the St. Mary's side, you must, and you're from Halifax, just outside of Halifax, are you a little partial to being on this side of the field?
Well, I'm trying not to be. I can think of thrilling reasons for both teams to win today, and it's a great game.
Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, Rod.
Thank you, Leaf, and well put politically.
Well, I mean, athletic awards is a euphemism for scholarships, and that's what they're looking at implementing. We're trying to straighten it out anyway, because you have an imbalance across Canada with the different leagues right now. But personally, if I would ask my position, I'm for them.
Well, a lot of good and quite bright scholastically Canadian athletes are going south of the border because they can get the money. And it happens in other sports as well. And now with the ball on first down, and that pass is incomplete.
And just, you know, one last item on that. I know the Canadian University Football Coaches Association have also put together a motion that would go to the CIU annual general meeting in which junior football would count as a year of eligibility.
Well, that'd be interesting.
Yes.
A number of programs have benefited from using Oh, he's had some big catches this afternoon, and that is a first down. Rouge et Or up across their 50.
And Matthew Bertrand really threaded the needle on this one because he had Sean Mifflin coming across. And you see just right there in the hole, really nice job by Pascal Robitaille. Brought it to Sherbrooke, Quebec. Nice job.
Robitaille is giving Laval a first down, a 4-point lead under 3 minutes until three-quarter time. Here's Stephen Lefebvre again. He'd be your MVP candidate so far. He doesn't get the ball a lot, but when he does, it is a big play. He's had 2 touchdowns so far in this game.
And they love to run him off of that same look. You know, we saw that look earlier in the game where they're going to run the trap with the backside tackle. Trudell, you see him come across, bang, kicks out. I mean, he just puts the defender on his back, and then they just run it right up inside of his block.
Sticks move again. Laval in Husky territory. Bertrand complete to Robitaille again. A good gain. 8, maybe 9 yards for Laval. So like their first drive of the game, suddenly Rouge et Or quickly on the move.
And you can see Laval, they have a very nice rhythm right now when they're running their offense. Mixing up with run and pass. This time just a 3-step drop, and Robitaille just goes down, turns around, and Bertrand puts the ball right on his numbers.
A gain of nearly 9 yards, spotted exactly at the 36. Second and short, and passing. Passing deep, but too far. Looking for Stephen Lefebvre that time. And now, Jamie, an interesting call coming up on 3rd down and a little bit more than a yard. And at that point in the field, it would be a very long field goal try. What do you do?
They're on the, it'd be a 44-yarder. I think that's a little bit out of his range right now. They're going to have to go for this right now on 3rd down and 1. I like the call on 2nd down. I think that was the right call. Play action pass and go deep.
Well, here's a big one. 3rd down. And rolling out. He's keeping it. He does not have it. He goes down right at the 35, and that would be about 6 inches shy. I do not believe he has the first down. And he is very slow to get up.
Yeah, he put his head down, but that was a great job by Dennis Arruda, number 7. It looked initially like he had the corner because they sealed it off and got around the perimeter, but number 7, Dennis Arruda from the safety spot. Right here, they're looking pretty solid right here. But boy, they come up real tough in here. He puts his head down. A good hit by Arruda.
So at a critical point in time, the Huskies D builds a brick wall. And they turn it over on down, St. Mary's football at the Husky 35.
And we saw them do this last week against Waterloo in 3rd down and 1. Turned the ball over, and then St. Mary's went down and scored.
1 minute, 18 seconds to go. Bertrand still down on a knee, and the defense is out there. Slow to get off the field. How critical is this for this Laval team? Nursing a 4-point lead and turning it over on downs. Dennis Arruda and that St. Mary's defense.
Along with Joe Barbati, the outside linebacker, came in as well, laid a big hit on him. There's 3 Huskies right there, and they had great containment. Phil. No place for Mathieu Bertrand to go.
Play action fake Jones. On 1st down, he has the time. Way over to the right. And he's got a man. It's Curry. Complete in a 1st down. St. Mary's up at the 48.
Well, you know, initially Ryan Jones is trying to look at going left. We saw earlier in the game when they were putting 4 receivers to the wide side and they had the one-on-one coverage in the backside. What Laval has done is gotten their best defensive back and they put him back on the short side because they were getting hurt there. But now he comes back all the way over to the wide side. You see it's Philip Gosselin's over there now because they want to keep Fleury against the receiver on the short side of one-on-one coverage.
33 seconds now until three-quarter time, and that play is going nowhere. Luis Perez, the ball carrier, and he has nothing.
Iglesias was in there in the tackle.
We've had some close Vanier Cups in recent years. In 1996, when Blake Nill was a defensive coordinator, St. FX led Saskatchewan after 3 quarters 12-10. Of course, the Huskies went on to win it big time after that. Last year, we had a 17-17 tie with Concordia, and once again the Huskies. And this one looks to be a 4-point game heading to the final 15 minutes of the Vanier Cup. Zeros on the clock. This will be the final play of the quarter. Out of the shotgun, Jones scrambling, flag down. It'll be holding against St. Mary's, and he's taken down. Francesco Pepe Esposito and Ben Melush are in on that play. Big play defensively for Laval at three-quarter time. They'll decline the penalty, and they'll be getting the football. When we come back, heading to the board, the Vanier Cup. The numbers after three quarters indicate St. Mary's has been taking control of this game, but Jamie, it is still Laval on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's still Laval on the scoreboard right now, but look at the first downs for St. Mary's. You know, 21-14, but still relatively close game. And really, Rod, this game is still a toss-up.
A season of hard work comes down to a final 15 minutes, barring overtime. 14-10. Laval entering the final quarter here at Skydome in Toronto. And St. Mary's will be punting to start the quarter off. And not a very good punt by Curry as it falls down to the 40, but he gets a nice roll to Fleury. Breaks the tackle, flag down, gets it back up to the Laval 34. Could be a penalty going against the Rouge et Or. Jacques Chapdelaine discusses things with Francois Chapdelaine, no relation. He's the backup quarterback.
That's right. His brother, also the second-team All-Canadian a year ago, and I believe he's coming into the
He is. Mathieu Bertrand was injured in the previous set of downs, so Francois Chapdelaine is into this game at quarterback for Laval, and there is another injured Rouge et Or player on the field right now.
Now, let's set this up. This is a passing team, and he comes into this game with only 35% completions. 10 of 29, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Now, we saw him play a year ago, and he is capable of playing, but he hasn't had any playing time this year.
Let's have another look at what happened to
This is on the third down play when Bertrand gets hurt here. Now, you know, he seemed to get up under his own speed, but, you know, it looked like he took a shot in the head.
Now, while they were going off, even when the defense had come on, they turned it over on downs. He was very slow to get off the field.
Right. And he might look a little dazed here. Now, he did have a broken collarbone a year ago. It doesn't look like they were working on the shoulder at all, but it looked like when Barbati came in and hit him in the head with the shoulder pads, it might have stung him.
And it is Daniel Fleury.
That's Daniel Fleury. They cannot afford to lose him.
So some very significant Laval players are injured right now. And remember, Hugh Beauchamp, the rush end, was hurt. He suffered a left knee injury earlier in this game. So three significant members of this team off now on the sidelines.
See the hit on Daniel Fleury, gets away from the initial, and then just gets kind of rolled under on his, looks like his right knee.
The good news is he is walking off, although obviously favoring him.
But I tell you, you're a cornerback there. You got to be able to make cuts on a dime.
Right.
And hopefully it's nothing too serious, and you can just kind of work on it on the sidelines to get back in this football game.
First play of the Vanier Cup for Francois Chapdelaine. In at quarterback for Laval in place of the injured Mathieu Bertrand. He hands off in the first one, and he gives it to Lefebvre. Lefebvre on the draw takes it up for about 4 yards. Laval will be second and 6.
Now, Francois Chapdelaine played his high school football just down the road here at Trinity High School in Port Hope, Ontario.
Let's get an update now from Alex J. Walling. Alex.
What we've been able to get so far is that he is simply banged up, wind knocked out of him, no major injury thus far that can be ascertained. So it took a heck of a shot, and they're looking forward that he's perhaps able to go back very shortly.
And they might just need him, protecting a 4-point lead. The completed pass there for a first down, though, by Chapdelaine. Donald Wellman on the receiving end, the slot back.
Yeah, I think he took a shot in the head, and you know, if you lose the wind, I mean, you're going to get back into that's probably just the party line. Want to kind of get his head clear before he gets back in the game. But you take a look at the differences in quarterbacks. I mean, Chapdelaine comes in, he's only 5'8", Bertrand 6'2". Really changes a lot of things. And if you heard the name Chapdelaine in University football in Canada, usually you've heard about his brother, Benoit Chapdelaine, who was the second-team All-Canadian quarterback a year ago.
McMaster Marauders, a team that lost badly to this Laval team earlier this season, as you had pointed out at the start. That's Broussard on the carry there. Well, let's get an update from Lee Pedersen.
Well, Rod, it's interesting on the St. Mary's bench, head coach Blake Neal back and forth saying, hey guys, this is our quarter. We've knocked their starting quarterback out, and everybody really upbeat that they've been able to do that. But interesting to hear Alex J say he may in fact return.
Thank you, Lee.
Although it's interesting Leaf would say that Blake Neal thinks that, because history would show during the regular season that Laval has outscored their opponents in the fourth quarter 65-17.
Complete. And the first catch of the day for Garrick Apollon, number 81, and it's a big one. Chapdelaine looks all right there as they get it up to the 50.
I tell you, he's looking pretty calm and cool, collected there in his third year. You know, we saw him play a year ago. He was splitting time with Dominic Goulet in the Dunsmore Cup final last year. Nice pattern by Apollon. I tell you, he just turned around and that ball was right there. Good pass.
47, St. Mary's rushing to get off the field. Just as they snap the ball, it goes to Lefebvre. He takes it for about 4 more yards at Laval. Jacques Chapdelaine. I mentioned that was trying to find the consistency at quarterback after Bertrand was injured last year.
We see Brad Chalmers back in the game on defense, making that tackle, going both ways.
Chalmers, who was in the 1990 Vanier Cup, a heartbreaking loss for St. Mary's to the Saskatchewan Huskies that started the decade. He's finishing the decade at the Vanier as well. Oh, a gamble taken right there in the pass to Wellman. A gamble both ways, and it is broken up by Stephen Marquez in this game after missing last week's Atlantic Bowl.
That was a real big gamble, because usually, when you're going to reach in like that, that's not a bad idea. He reached in with the right hand, so if he missed him, he's going to try and grab him. But if he misses that, his momentum was taking him to the sideline, and that could have been a huge gain for Laval.
Part of the Alberta contingent from Edmonton in his second year. Arts program. Francois Chapdelaine comes off now after his first drive and had a couple of completed passes. And of course, Bertrand is the punter as well, so it will be Sébastien Robillard filling in for Bertrand when it comes to the punting duties. And this is a pretty good punt. Gillen will have it at about the 24, and he steps back to the 20 to see if he can turn a corner. He does. Adam Gillen gets it up and back to where he started from. St. Mary's football. We're in the fourth quarter. The Huskies still down by 4.
My conversations with him, if he goes back in his career, Larry mentioned that he's never won the last game of the season. High school, touch leagues, CFL, he's never got the ring on his finger. I think Larry's extremely excited to have another shot, and I don't doubt for 1 second that the entire team, shown by some of the activities last week, would very much love to walk up and hand that trophy to Coach Utek.
And yet another former player, Bill Schollard, had some great years under Larry Utek. I think a lot of these players would. They want to win it for themselves, for Blake Neal, but also for Larry Utek. And they have a chance. They're down by 4 in the fourth quarter, 11:30 in the clock and counting here at Skydome. St. Mary's football at their 30-yard line, 1st and 10. Handing off Luis Perez. Spins, breaks some tackles, and some good running to knife his way up to the 35. Larry Utek came close a number of years, losing to Calgary in '88, losing the closest of them all. That was St. Mary's. Chris Flynn fumbled it away after being hit. Late in that game, Saskatchewan won it in 1990, and then St. Mary's lost in their 3rd trip back in 5 years to Queens. 2nd and 5. Huskies from their 35. Rolling to his right. Flag down. Jones keeps it. It would be enough for a first down. Let's see what the penalty's all about. And a look of disgust by Blake Neal suggests which way the penalty is going. This is a big one to snuff out a drive. They would have to punt.
They would have had the first down, I believe, Rod, and now it's going to be 2nd down and 15.
Holding, St. Mary's, number 65. 6-5, 2nd down.
John Salma, 65, the right guard, called for holding for St. Mary's, so yes, 2nd and 15.
Well, now Laval, we saw Daniel Fleury, the outstanding corner, get hurt. He's not back in the game, and Laval's had to make some changes. They've taken their safety, Patrick Roy, and they put him out in the corner now in a position that he's unfamiliar in playing, and it's a big difference playing out in the corner all alone in an island than playing in the middle of the field. And he's going to try and play one-on-one with the receiver on the short side.
St. Mary's does not like the call. They have to deal with 2nd and 15 now to the shotgun. Jones airs it out wide open. My goodness. Gillen had nobody near him, but it went a bit too far.
Yeah, that's a case when you want to try and put a lot of air underneath that football. I mean, he threw a pass that had to be perfect, and it didn't have to be a perfect pass. You know, I like the call because I said they took boys and put him out on the outside, and now they got a new safety in there, and you can see Adam Gillen wide open, just over his outstretched hands. So close.
Instead, St. Mary's, Jason Curry standing back at his 10 to punt it away. 10-12 to go in the fourth quarter. Still lots of time, but the Huskies have been missing chances, and they're getting more costly each time. That was a golden chance with a wide open receiver taken at the 50. And going backwards is Laval on the return. Simon Veronneau. Good coverage by the Huskies, but it's still Laval football up at the 44.
And that's going to come back because number 17 for Laval, Jesse Gagné, clipped Chris Fates when he was going for the football.
Pushes Laval further back, and you saw Francois Chapdelaine getting ready and now coming in. And here's what happened, Jamie.
See, you just in the top of your screen, and you know, it's incredible. I mean, coaches really almost want to write on the back of a guy's sweater, no hit zone, no hit zone.
Push
just
in the
don't
rear.
hit it. If you see it, don't touch
Number 17, Laval, during the return.
To do that, they'd have to write it on the back of the
first down.
37-yard line in Laval. Francois Chapdelaine, his second drive, coming in for the injured starter, Mathieu Bertrand. And they run the draw to perfection. Lefebvre again. What an afternoon for him. A first down, Laval. 2 touchdowns in the first half.
You know, sometimes there's a tendency when you get a new quarterback to come into the game like that, everybody starts to pin their ears back thinking we want to put tremendous pressure on him right away so that he can't get in any kind of rhythm. And it's a good thing that Laval's doing right now, running the ball a little bit, trying to take advantage of that aggressiveness on the St. Mary's defensive line, going after the passer.
12 carries, 114 yards. His biggest one, tiptoeing down the sideline. A 100-yard drive that lasted only 4 plays. He finished it off. That was the second of the 2. Nice fake to him and a pass over to Robillard. Sebastien Robillard with a big first down Laval to the St. Mary's 45. That fooled a lot of people.
Well, they're trying to do what, you know, you see a lot of CFL clubs do it, and they're trying to run that rub where they take number 5, Pascal Robitaille, and he kind of, you know, it's not really a pick, but because the ball's caught before he hits him. But if you take a look outside, you know, he picks the corner, and then they run the receiver Robillard inside off of that. I mean, that's very close to being a pick.
As good as Bertrand has been, Laval's offense is not suffering without him right now. A handoff. Brassard with a carry, and he gets more than 5, about 6 yards. Good gain on first down. Rougeau continuing to move this ball, getting close to the midway point of this fourth quarter of the Vanier Cup. 5 and a bit. 2nd and 5. Blake Mill instructing his defense. Not only the head coach, he is the defensive coordinator of this team. A good defense it has been. This could be the biggest test of the afternoon. Laval controlling the ball. It's Lefebvre again, and the defense answers that time. Short yardage on 2nd and just under 5 yards needed. They did not get him. What do they do now?
Well, I think they're too far out for field goal range right now, so I think Jacques Chapdelaine is, I think they're going to go for it here. Given the fact that Bertrand is a punter, but it looks like they're putting on their punt team now to kick it away.
Well, Michel Gagne is coming in, so they're going to try the field goal. And that would be
44-yarder.
But a 44-yarder, that would be more than his longest this year, was at 42. Chapdelaine, the quarterback, in there as well. He will be the holder. Ball spotted actually at the 43. I watched him warm up from the very same spot, and he was hitting them from this distance, although just barely. Michel Vanier has enough leg easily that time, but it's wide to the left, and St. Mary's will have no trouble getting it out. Curtis Nash still on his feet, still in, although they say he went out of bounds now at the 7. So they'll bring it out to the 20 anyway under CIAU rules. The score stays the same. The Huskies have the ball. 7:32 left. Yeah, give us a paw. Coming up after this, the 1999 U.S. Men's Skins game. 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. And it's David Duval and Fred Couples. Also Sergio Garcia, the Spanish sensation, and Marco Mira. All coming up for you after our coverage of the Vanier Cup. Midway through the fourth quarter here. Disappointed to see his team not in the Grey Cup tomorrow in Vancouver. Lots of time left here. Jimmy Passett. He has a man. It's complete. Paul Fleming on the receiving end. Excuse me. David Stalag catching at that time. It gets close to a first down for the Huskies. Gain of about 9 yards, St. Mary's.
It looks like Dean Jones is down on the field. We see David Stalag make the catch and come inside on the quick slant. This would be a blow to the Huskies running game right now to lose him.
A lot of key players have gone down in this game, and most of them have been for Laval. Let's get an update now from Alex J. Walling.
The condition of quarterback, it appears he has a mild concussion and is not expected to return. I repeat, what I'm able to get through the sources of Laval, mild concussion, don't expect him back at the game.
What a rough break for Laval, and everything that Mathieu Bertrand has been through in the last month, the sudden death of his father. This is the injury to Dean Jones, Jamie.
Yeah, Dean Jones at the top of your screen tries to make the block, and it looked pretty innocuous there. That didn't seem to really hit him that hard, but walking off the field now under his own steam, so he seems to be okay.
Hasn't been featured the way he was last week against Waterloo. This has been more Luis Perez. It was Perez earlier in the season, and after he got hurt, Jones really became the feature back late in the season. Had a great game last week. And now off on the sideline in 2nd and 1 and on the keeper. Oh, easy first down and more for Ryan Jones. So the sticks will move. They get it up around the 37. 6:41 on the clock, and that clock will become a feature attraction as we get a little closer to the end of this football game. St. Mary's needs at least 4 more points.
Be interesting now, Rod, to see if Ryan Jones tries to go out and challenge Patrick Bois in the corner. You know, they have Dave Stahl out there, a first-year player. You know, they ran a little bit earlier. They put Patrick Thibault outside, who had pretty good speed.
Out of the shotgun on 1st and 10, Ryan Jones. Inside to Luis Perez. He has a good hold. He cuts back, and he has another Husky first down. Across the St. Mary's 50 to the 52. A counter play that works to perfection.
It's a nice job of blocking. How they run the counter, too, Rod. It's interesting. They bring the backside tackle, but they also take slot back with them as well. You see Hakeem in there as well as the pull-through guy. He's almost like a guard. Luis Perez does a nice job of picking his way and getting the first down.
6-10 and counting. Near midfield. Jones under center and handing off. Perez again. Good gain on first down of about 5. Across midfield into Laval territory. Perhaps another great finish is brewing at the Vanier Cup, and we have had so many. Last year, late in the game, Concordia losing it after a fumble, and Trevor Lutke recovering it. Later, the MVP of the game, Saskatchewan winning for the 3rd time this decade. Luis Perez, a key part of this offense for St. Mary's, and perhaps on this final drive, especially a couple of big carries to keep things going here. It is 2nd and 6, 5:26 and counting. Perez again, flagged down, lost yardage, and it could be holding against St. Mary's.
Perez a little slow to get up, and that's going to be holding against St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, number 44, is declined. Third down.
Left tackle, Brad Chama.
That's going to force St. Mary's to kick the ball away. Just they look like they have kind of a drive starting to get going, holding. I mean, they declined it and made it third down, so they didn't accept the penalty. But the thing is right now, you know, with 5 minutes and 20 seconds left, St. Mary's are running out of possessions.
And a field goal does them nothing. Credit to Laval's defense because they've given up the yardage, but they've stiffened when they had to. And that one is caught and taken out of bounds immediately on the run. Simon Verneau for Laval will start around their 30. This is the Vanier Cup on TSN in the fourth. Number 22 is Laval, fifth-year corner. Daniel Fleury was injured earlier and has been testing out his injury and trying to get back into this game.
He was on the sidelines running up and down, making some cuts and everything else. He seems to be ready to go right now. And the thing that's going to be interesting is whether or not he can turn and cut. They're going forward or backwards might not be too bad, but he has to make those quick, sudden movements.
He doesn't need to be in now. It's Laval's offense. And Francois Chapdelaine airing it out. No good. Intended for Pascal Robitaille.
And they're trying to get Curtis Nash, the hero of last week's game for St. Mary's, to bite on the little quick out, and then they turn him up the field. Got a wheel, and he actually ended up making a very good play, looking back for the ball, getting that left arm out, knocking it away. Trying to run the fake hitch, and then take the inside receiver and wheel him up the sideline.
The clock is a friend to Laval and an enemy to St. Mary's. Running down to 4 minute time now. That one intended once again for Robitaille. No good. So Laval will be punting with 4:30 on the clock. And Robitaille be hurt as well. Very slow to get up.
Yeah, he looked like he was hurt in the last play, actually, and then kind of came back into the huddle. And, you know, there is a difference playing on turf. And if you're not used to it, hard.
And some seams here at Skydome as well. That, you know, every year, coaches come in who haven't seen this facility before, and they comment on that. Of course, Chapdelaine has seen it. He played on it in the CFL days. Blake Mill has seen it before as defensive coordinator with St. FX, but reminded of it and making sure the players are aware as well. Some ruts that can certainly take out a knee for a receiver or running back near the end zones. Punting situation at the 10. And once again, it is Sébastien Robillard sitting in for Mathieu Bertrand. And this is not a good punt, but it gets a good roll. Oh, they touched it. This could be Laval ball.
You know what?
It is.
No, but you know what, though? I want to take a look at this. It is Laval's ball, but I want to know where the Laval player was in relationship to the St. Mary's player.
Because it could be no yards.
It should be no yards if he's within the 5-yard.
They're discussing it now. Louis Mazuret. Now they're saying Laval football. 76, Louis Mazuret recovered it after it was touched by a Husky player. Watch it.
Let's take a look at this. Oh, no, you're right. He was out of the 5-yard zone.
Wow.
That's just, you got to be aware where the ball is at all times.
Michael Crooks touched the ball, and Louis Mazuret celebrating, recovering it, and a big turnover. Still Laval football. Setting up the screen for Brassard, and it goes incomplete. It goes high on him from Chapdelaine. What a break, though, for Rouge et Or. Just for the field position alone. After what was not a very good punt by Robillard, although did get the roll, and the Huskies and Crooks got a little bit aggressive with it instead of letting it settle.
And not just that, Laval should be able to burn at least a minute off of the clock.
And it stands at 3:43 and counting. A big drive here could all but end St. Mary's hopes of a national title this time around. Passing, and it's caught. First down yardage for Laval. Pascal Robitaille again. He's injured, but he's playing, and he caught that ball. And the sticks move again for the Rouge et Or.
So he's got a sore right leg, but I'll tell you what, he's staying in this football game. He's their best receiver. Good poise by Chapdelaine. He puts the ball right in the money. But, you know, the key to that catch is that he did not wait for the ball to get into his body. He went up and got it at its highest point, and you can see the look of anguish on his face right now and the pain in his face.
Quite visible, looking at him, but he's in there. And they run a draw to the right side. It's Stephane Lefebvre, the ball carrier again, and picks up about 4 yards for Laval. The clock ticking down to 3-minute time. 3:03. It's stopped there.
This is a play they've been running all day with that counter, and St. Mary's have had a difficult time stopping it. Time to get 5 yards as Blake Neal looks at the clock. I'm sure Jacques Chapdelaine is trying to find out is how many timeouts does St. Mary's have. So he's clear in his mind.
2nd and 6. Under 3 minutes. Laval ball. Chapdelaine throwing to no one. And a flag is down. Hit as he threw it.
I think it's going to be Curtis Nash called for offside. He's the inside safety coming on the blitz. I think he jumped a little too soon.
So another call goes against the Huskies at a critical juncture in this Vanier Cup.
That's a tough one. You're looking at 2nd and 6, and now you're going to be looking at 2nd and 1.
There have been some big mistakes to hurt St. Mary's, and a couple of them just in the last minute.
Offside. 49.
See in the top of your screen.
2nd down
It looked like a couple of them kind of jumped there. But they actually called Scott Matuli,
who was offside. 2nd and 1. 2:51 on the clock. Time running out on St. Mary's, and a first down for Laval. An Atlantic Conference school has not won the national championship since 1981. That was Acadia when it beat Alberta. It's been a long time, 18 years.
Yeah, I think Blake Neal right now has to start using his timeouts, especially if they run the football in the first play here. 2:45, the clock starting to tick down.
First and 10. The Rouge et Or trying to close out their first national championship under 3 minutes and a 4-point lead. Running the draw, Stephane Lefebvre, and they have it wrapped up nicely.
I think this is where you take a timeout right here, Bob, at 2:24. You can always stop the clock on offense. Jacques Chapdelaine just kind of looking on without much emotion at all. Blake Neal looking at his chart.
2:24 left in the 4th quarter of the Vanier Cup. Laval with the ball and a 4-point lead. A national championship, the backup quarterback, Francois Chapdelaine. He's been in most of this quarter with the injury to Mathieu Bertrand. In fact, he's been in all of this quarter. It was right at the end of the 3rd. Bertrand was injured, suffering what they believe is a concussion. Pass it. Chapdelaine knocked away. Good coverage there by Josh Labuki, and it is incomplete. It'll be 3rd down and 11.
Well, that was a big play by St. Mary's on defense. Not only did they force Laval into a punting situation, but the clock stops right now. Josh Labuki getting out there and actually missed it, but you know what? It was enough of a distraction. It was real tough for the receiver to bring it in.
From Wellington, Nova Scotia. One of the local products playing for that St. Mary's team. Looked like he might have just got his hand on it a touch, but you didn't see the ball move. Big play indeed. Now standing in punt formation. This is interesting. Instead of Robillard, it'll be Daniel Fleury who's standing back, it appears. Fleury injured earlier. It's Joe Bonaventura down for the Huskies, slow to get up.
That is interesting that Fleury is the punter. When you consider the other punter was doing a pretty good job, unless they have something up their sleeve. But, you know, St. Mary's have been trying to return all day, and it really hasn't worked. They haven't once tried to come in and pressure the punter now.
Yeah, now might be the time.
Right. Difficult situation. The last thing you don't want to rough the...
Daniel
You don't want to
Fleury.
rough the punter.
Sebastian Robillard had a bad punt the last time out, although it had a good result for Laval.
And it's also kind of strange because, you know, he's obviously coming off a knee injury. I mean, usually you wouldn't have a guy who just hurt his knee coming back into punt.
Well, let's see what they'll do. He is very fleet of foot. He is punting it away. And they just want to hem St. Mary's down deep, and it looks like they will, barring a great return here. Again with the ball, and he does get it up to around the Husky 20. 1:51 on the clock. Huskies need a drive desperately. The dying minutes of the Vanier Cup. The 1999 U.S. Men's Skins game. Fred Couples, Sergio Garcia, Marco Mira, and David Duval. It's coming up. We could be in for an exciting finish here. The Huskies need to move the ball. 1:51 on the clock. Ryan Jones calling out the signals, audibly, waiting in the shotgun. To pass, pump fake, escapes the pocket, dumps it off, and he had Jason Curry, but it goes incomplete.
That was a nice play by Philip Gosselin, who, you know, kind of had the short zone and then saw Ryan Jones scrambling and came back and made a nice play to knock the ball away. See Ryan Jones pump faking there and then coming out to his right-hand side, throwing on the run. Didn't get a lot under it, but nice job of knocking the ball away, which could have been a big game for St. Mary's.
Second down, 1:43 to go. Jones over the middle. Oh, what a catch! Cartier Shields took a pop from Bois afterwards and hung on. Big first down, St. Mary's.
That's a great big catch in this game. We haven't mentioned his name once today, but he comes up with the biggest catch right now, right over the middle. Nice pass right over Bedard's head. Does a real nice job. And, you know, there's an interesting matchup at the top of your screen. You got Travis Tyler up there against Fleury.
Shotgun again. Huskies wrapped up. Ryan Jones, but flag is down. Laval will be called. A face masking to Ben Melush, who took down Jones. And he got high. And it'll be another first down, SMU.
It's a big break here. It's back. Benoit Melush coming in.
Or it's 44, Francisco Pepe Esposito.
Unnecessary roughness. 44 Laval.
He didn't get the face.
No, he didn't. But you can't go for the head. Anywhere around the head, they're going to flag you.
Pepe Esposito called for the roughing. Another big turn of events in St. Mary's favor. 1:20 to go.
Now, I've been watching that matchup between Tyler and Fleury on the other side, and both times Travis Tyler has blown right by him. Now, I don't know if Fleury's trying to bait him or not, but he's playing real tight right now. Only 5 yards off the ball. On the short side, it's a much easier throw for the quarterback.
Jones. Deep. Nearly intercepted. And it was Fleury who got his hands on the ball.
Hey, they're trying to run streaks, so they're trying to take the inside receivers and the wide receivers straight down the field. But one thing the quarterback's got to check is the corner on the other side, that he does not collapse inside. So you got to kind of look outside and hold him, and then you can throw it over him. I mean, they had the right matchup that they wanted. The inside receiver was the linebacker, Etienne Van Slet.
Let's go, Big O!
The entire St. Mary's team is holding hands on the sidelines. Some unity and a critical point of this 35th Vanier Cup. The Huskies have never led. They answered back and tied the score. They've trailed most of the way, and they're down by 4. They need a touchdown. They need it soon. Heading down to the final minute. Jones at midfield takes off. Fumbles the football. Laval has it. Laval ball. Yves Thériault takes it all the way back to the SMU 25. And the Rouge et Or are under a minute away from a national title. Defensive back, Yves Thériault, picks up the fumble.
Now Ryan Jones is doing a good good job. He just gets the ball popped out of there. He had it tucked away, and it was a good job by Francesco Pepe Esposito to knock the ball away. And then Yves Theriault comes in right here. Good job wrapping the ball, knocking it away. And then Yves Theriault comes up and picks it up. And you know, Rod, you hate to bring up similarities, but the 1990 Vanier Cup.
9 years ago, Chris Flynn was hit and fumbled the ball, and it ended St. Mary's chances of winning the Vanier Cup. They were down by 3 at the time and trying to drive for a field goal. Mathieu Bertrand, an emotional moment. He started at QB, he's had an outstanding season. He suffered a concussion. He's out of this game. And he and his team are very close now. They're winning it all.
St. Mary's have just used their last timeout.
Heartbreaking moment for Ryan Jones, hit by Francesco Pepe Esposito and popping it up.
You know, the critical thing now for Ryan Jones is 52 seconds left. They might get the ball back here. And he's got to keep his head straight, and they got to think about what they're going to do with a little bit of time left on the clock. But the defense has to stop them here.
Takes it straight up to about the 15. Kicking the field goal would make it a 7-point game. There'd be no difference, really. St. Mary's either way is forced to go all the way down for a touchdown.
Except you got to tie. I mean, if they do go down, they tie you. They don't beat you.
However, if they turn it over on downs deep in St. Mary's territory, it's a longer field for the Huskies to work.
That's true, no question.
So what would you do? If you're facing that 46 on the clock now, if they don't pick up the first down, would you kick the field goal or would you just go for it?
I think I'd take the field goal. I think I'd put the points on the board.
Which would ensure, at the very least, a tie in regulations. Something miraculous happened for St. Mary's.
Well, and also when you consider that, you know, a touchdown, you just don't want a touchdown to beat you right now. I mean, a touchdown can tie it.
If they get the field goal,
If they get the field goal.
No, that may not be a debate anyway, as they are measuring play from the side, getting very close to the first down for Laval. No team from the Ontario Quebec Conference has won a Vanier since Queens in 1992, and then from there you'd have to go back to McGill in 87. It's been a while. Few and far between for both of these conferences represented today. Looks like Laval is on the verge of busting through. Long heartbreak for the St. Mary's program is coming close. Barring a miracle comeback now, looks like that will continue. Blake Neal on the field, shouting to his defense. A defense that has played an excellent game, only 14 points on the board for Laval.
And now they're going to go for it at first. You know, I don't think he got it.
No, it didn't look like if he did. He got it by very much. Chapdelaine on the feet right there. Third and just inches away.
No, it looks like where the official's spotting it, you can see his left foot, number 20, marking it.
41 seconds on the clock.
And this is going to be close.
And this would just about do it if it is. First down for the Rougeois. The sticks are going to come out again. Good hard-fought Vanier Cup. 2 programs. But without question earned the right to be here. The 6-2 Rougeois. 7-1. It is a first down Laval. It'll be awfully tough for St. Mary's now. And they know it. That is just about it. 41 seconds. A remarkable year for St. Mary's and Blake Neal in turning things around. Here's the play.
He tries quarterback shake left.
Mark Axhorn was right in there. It didn't look like he gained anything.
I don't think he did. I think he lost some yardage.
Followed the snap as well, so that was a close play. Clock counting. Celebration starting on the Laval sideline as they will just down the ball, kill what's left, and take home the hardware. Chapdelaine on a knee. Clock down to 20 seconds. And this Chapdelaine can almost taste it as well. A 7-year career in the Canadian Football League, once a teammate of this man in Montreal, Blake Neal. And a different feeling right now.
When you look at the job that Blake Neal has done with his football team, I don't think this will be the last time under his reign that they'll be in this Vanier Cup.
15 seconds and counting. St. Mary's will not get another chance. And Jacques Chapdelaine won't get a chance to stay dry for a while now. He gets doused. This could be the final play of the Vanier Cup. The road to this championship, paved with red and gold, rouge et or. Laval, only its 4th season. The new kids in the block. They've tackled the Vanier Cup. Celebration and emotion. The Mathieu Bertrand lost his father suddenly a month ago. Elected to play the next day. Had a great first half. They racked up enough points to secure this win. 14 on the board. For the lower scoring national championship games in the history of the Vanier Cup.
You know what? It was just a great game. I mean, even though there was not a lot of points scored in this football game, there was some great play on both sides of the ball. Both teams have a lot to be proud of.
There's always another side to the story. Missed chances for St. Mary's. A wonderful Husky team falls short in the Vanier game. Laval is the champion of Canadian University football, beating St. Mary's 14-10. They're getting set to add some silver of the Vanier Cup. Let's take it down to Alex J. Walling.
All right, and we have time for presentations. And first of all, congratulations. We'd like to ask Weddy Benningfield, president of the CIAU, and also Jeff Chan, the chair of the Vanier Cup Organizing Committee.
Oui, alors Mme Benningfield va être là pour présenter le trophée au capitaine. Et également Jeff Chan, le président du comité organisateur de ces festivités, grand succès. Alors bravo au Rouge et Or de Laval. And now for the big presentation.
Well, we'll let them enjoy this one, Claude.
Yeah, well, alors comme vous pouvez constater, les capitaines sont extrêmement heureux à Laval, mais il faut présenter les joueurs du match également.
All right, let's make the individual presentations. And now to present the Ted Morris Memorial, which is presented by Chevrolet Cavalier.